the glory,
but e-buggy pays the bills. Welcome to the No Name RC podcast. Get ready for some serious bench racing. But be warned, we speak our minds, express our thoughts, and sometimes things can get a little rowdy.
Hate, and he just was influenced by the hate coming from the left, the hate coming from the right.
And let's get back to more club racing and less of this drumming racing.
Hard not to be arrogant when you're always right. You know?
See what I mean? That's exactly why people call you arrogant, Max.
You may not agree with everything we say, but it's definitely worth a listen.
And our pick, can you stop whatever you're doing?
Join your host, Lefty the Great, with co-hosts and guests as they get together to chat RC.
Hey, after that race that I watched this morning, I have to talk about it.
Here we go. $100 right here, $100 bill. Oh no!
I like this.
Yes, indeed. Nitro's the glory, but e-buggy pays the bills. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to show number 312. I almost got my numbers mixed up. That's right. 312 of the No Name RC podcast. I know I was early last week. I said last week's show was 312, but man, we have so much going on. I got confused. So show 312. And yeah, it's a pretty good show. We just have JQ come on and we have a chat, and I'll get into more of that as I do my thank yous and supports and all that type of stuff. But obviously, we can't do this without you guys out there, the NNRC squad around the world. Please don't forget to hit that like notification button. It really helps us out a lot. Share it as well. I know a lot of you listen to this on the audio only side of things as well. Leave a review there. Even if you only listen to it, come on over to the to the YouTube side and give us a share, give us a like over there. It definitely helps us. On the road to 7,000. We'd like to reach that 7,000 subscribers. Obviously, we'd like to get to 10,000, but we're well away from that. But we definitely want to get up to 7,000 here as soon as possible. Also, a big shout out to the patrons of the No Name RC podcast and the YouTube members. You guys get early access of this podcast, plus other cool stuff as well. You will get early access of this podcast. Also, a big shout out to these companies that support the podcast. We have links for all of these companies in the written description of this podcast. There's some affiliate links. There's some coupon codes. There's companies I didn't even mention in here that are there. You can save some money. Thank you to all of them that support the No Name RC podcast. We can't do that without you. If you're a company looking to support us throughout the year, hit us up. If you're a company looking for some of our short-term campaigns, we're just working on our first one here now, and we're looking forward to do that as well. So big shout out to J Concepts, our title sponsor. Thank you to Jason Rona, Allison for all their support. We greatly appreciate it. Obviously, also a big shout out to High Tech RC, Sidewinder Fuels, Latera Racing, InvisibleSpeed, ML Toys for all your ride-on needs, Side Piece Racing, Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako, Techno RC, Beach RC, Racecraft USA, and Clinic RC. Also, I say a big shout out to Get Shit Done Coffee. We got a coupon code for that as well. And Call RC. We have some coupon codes where you can save some money from that as well. And we got a little slice. So if you want to get some cleaning needs, check out Claw RC and use that coupon code. You also save some money in the ML Toys. So that's right. Our guest this week is JQ himself. It's been about a year since JQ has been on the podcast. We talk about all of that. What's been going on in this world. It's a great chat. He answers some of your questions. I really enjoy catching up with JQ, contrary to what a lot of you think. We really don't talk as much as you think we do, and especially because we kind of been working in different fields over the last year. It's been a little bit different. So it was a good catch up with JQ, his travels, his thoughts, and all that good stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed this catch up with JQ as much as I did. Thank you, Joseph, for all your time and everything you've done. And thank you for coming back on the podcast. We greatly appreciate it. Hopefully we can make it more of a regular thing for you as well. So let's get over to the this week's podcast, which is a chat with Mr. JQ, who isn't very controversial in this podcast, but very technical, and definitely enjoyed it. What's up, JQ Beaker? What's up? It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
It has been a
When
long
was the
time.
last
Since,
time?
I think after Silver State.
1 year, almost.
Almost a year. Almost a year. A lot has happened in that year. Almost a year. For both of us.
Yes.
So that's what
Good
we're going
and
to talk
bad.
about. Yeah, we're acting like we're going to be hanging out at the bar, having a drink, even though I don't have anything to drink besides water.
I do. I have a beer.
I always know you have a beer. What's that?
Italian.
Mm.
Italian. At least the name. But from Nokia. Okay, in Finland.
Okay, so it's a Finnish Italian beer.
Mm.
Is it at least cold?
It's cold. It's
Oh.
very nice.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, there you go. You're
Are we done
lubricated. You're lubricated. We are not done yet. We're just getting started. So, yeah, this podcast is just going to be us catching up. Contrary to popular belief, we do not talk very often. And I think the last time I even saw you was at the Worlds. And
You know why we don't
half
talk?
a day.
It's because you've gone all corporate.
I heard that's what
You're
you
a
guys are calling
corporate
me at
shill.
DNC.
You have left the common man, and now we have less in common.
Well, I heard that that's my new nickname amongst the Mayako crew at DNC corporate. You know, I'm all corporate.
Yeah.
So you're listening, but you sound like Max, who called me a normie the other day.
Really?
Yes.
Because of what?
Because he says I've left the revolution. But then what happened this past weekend? What happened this past week?
I don't know, and I don't care.
Well, it wasn't nothing corporate, and it wasn't nothing normal about last week with all the kerfuffleage going on. So maybe that's just, you know, it's when it's time to go, it's time to go. It can't go 24/7. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, but I heard you guys are calling me all corporate. Salty Joe was calling me that.
Yeah.
So sounds like you guys missed me at DNC, to be honest.
Not really. But it's one of the sort of staple events. I didn't really want to go again, but had to since we signed Cavalieri. But you, as the media, you need to go to those races.
I do. But, you know, we talked about this prior to this as well, all the travel and all that stuff. I needed to get things kind of straight here at home because it's been a lot of, you know, a lot's been going on here at home. And I needed some time to get it off. And it was just like, I was going to save that budget for something maybe later on in the year. I wanted to go to the Nationals, but I don't even think I'm going to go to that now. But I do. I think next year I'll go. It looked like it was fun. It looked like it was fun to me. From the outside looking in, I enjoyed the racing. So,
no,
but I'm sure you have some complaints. I can see it in your eyes. You have some complaints. And congratulations to you, dude. 40 plus DNC champion. You know,
thank you.
You have done it all now. You can retire officially.
I have retired already. I have moved on, but I do sometimes need to race because I can test things and that's kind of my job.
Absolutely.
I've retired from caring about my racing. Okay.
All right. Well, we're going to get into DNC. So after that, so last I saw you at the Worlds, we was kind of hanging out down on the shoreline there in, I don't even know where we was. It was me, you, Pecco, Liam, Yuna, everybody just kind of hanging out because you was leaving and then I was coming back home. And you've kind of traveled quite a bit in between there and then. Didn't you go to like Indonesia and after that for the Asian Buggy Championships?
Yes.
Was that after Worlds?
Yeah, it was in September, 2 weeks after the Worlds.
Okay.
I went to Indonesia. The last round of the Asian Buggy Championships, I think. It was a really good race. Reminded me a lot of 2006 Worlds because I met some people there who I had last met probably back then, that sort of time. And they told me about things which I had sort of forgotten already. So it brought back really good memories, and track was awesome. red clay, kind of relatively loose, a lot of jumps, technical layout, big. Yeah, it was a really good trip. And I will definitely go back if I think they do have the race again. So
it was a beautiful track, dude. Like typical kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Asian type of track. That's what I want to say. The way it was. I'm trying to bring it up here, so keep on talking while I bring it up. Because it was a very beautiful track. I think we played it here on the when it did happen, and it was absolutely beautiful. Tell us a little where it's located in Jakarta.
Yeah, Jakarta. So I mean, Jakarta has a big international airport, and then it's within, let's say, within 45 minutes of the airport. And it's funny because in Asia, many of the tracks are more technical and more fun than the actual American tracks, which they have sort of copied from back in the day. So they've developed their own style to make the tracks, and I really like it because they have sections, with many jumps in a row through a corner, for example, and you really have to time the jumps and whip the car in the air, and it's really fun to just drive around the track. And it's something which often is missing from tracks, I think. So sections where everyone can do it, but then to do it fast, you have to have a higher level of skill. So exactly the kind of track that I enjoy. And I don't have that higher level of skill, but I enjoy trying to
this is a massive track, JQ.
Yeah,
it's big. Beautiful facility. Look at the driver's stand. Yeah. Huge. Oh, is that the driver's stand? Was that like a spectator area?
Yeah, the 2-story driver's stand, another sort of staple of Asian races.
And it's kind of square.
First floor is often for spectators or timing or also for the announcer, and then above that, another floor for drivers.
So that area to the left, or where the jumps are, that's the spectators, right? And
yeah, there were some pit spots and spectators.
Okay, and this is a privately owned facility, I assume?
Yeah, it is. So it's someone who just enjoys the hobby and racing, and had the ability to build a track on his land. So,
wow, it's like right next to a highway, man. I want to go to Indonesia so bad. I want to get over to Asia so bad. I was supposed to. Augie was trying to get me over to the Philippine Masters this year, but it's like the same weekend as IBC. So
yeah, it's next to a highway, and it's sort of behind. I can't remember if it was a KFC or something like that. There's like a undeveloped land behind it, so you drive past it, behind it, over across a field, and then that's where the track is.
This is a beautiful track, dude. I love this track.
Yeah, so it's literally in the city,
Wow.
Yeah.
And like all typical Asian races, you have hired tire marshals there.
Yes, and a lot of track time. So the first practice days, they have timed slots. I can't remember now, like how many minutes. But let's say it's 10 minutes or 7 minutes or something like that. So you can go up, drive for 7 minutes, then the drivers are changed. But because of the amount of drivers and entries, you don't really have to stand in line for a long time. Basically, like you go up there a bit after a group has started, and you'll be the next group. So the longest you ever really had to wait to drive was, 6-7 minutes, something like that. So it was, the system worked because of the amount of drivers there, I would say. But that way, you got a lot of track time during practice, and then the race itself. There were also, I think, 5 rounds of qualifying. There were some seeding rounds first, then 5 rounds of qualifying, long mains. So a good race to go to.
It seems like just that whole championship over there, the Asian Buggy Championship, doesn't get. I know a lot of people over in the West world don't know about it, but I've been following it since its inception, and I know like Tony Firth and those guys that work in it, and the media side of things, and I know like Zach and those guys were involved in it as well with Scotty. I think it's really great. I think the media side of things, they do a good job. They have written reports. They have, they do good interviews. They have great coverage. And it's good. They're, Scotty's obviously trying to influence drivers to come over there from the USA and whatnot. I think the only issue with this is being it's in Asia. I don't think that all the top drivers can make it, but it's good to see drivers do making it. Like I think
Yeah,
the
but
Philippine Masters is the most important. It's
yeah,
the
the
biggest one.
Asian drivers can make it, and I think
Yes.
more drivers are doing the entire series now.
Yes.
And I hope that the organizers or wish they would put a bit more emphasis on the series to make it so that the people who do the full series and then the people who win, they have a sort of significant benefit from doing that. Could be
Maybe even
financial or other,
Okay.
just to give it some more prestige to where all the races in Asia want to do that series. So it begins to mean something. And
Got you.
it's the closest thing we have to professional racing series. Okay,
I would
It's
agree
not
with you.
professional, but it good races where you get quality track time, good competition, international field, good media coverage. That's what we need, right? And then we want the drivers to care, so they go to all the races, and then the champion to be a star, a hero. That's what we need. And then the same thing needs to happen in Europe. The same thing needs to happen in America. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, seems like it's a utopia, but a world championship series,
Could happen.
that's what we need. So
Could happen.
this is a good thing, but it needs that last sort of push to make it something that people value more. And those are the sort of small last details that the organizers need to sort of put in.
I think they will. It's still in its infancy. I think it's its third year going now.
I'm
Maybe.
not sure.
I think this might be the third year or second year. I think it's the third year. So let's see what happens. I think they're on the right path. You're going to the Philippine side of it, and I assume the Indonesia side of it as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Maybe we can figure out how to get me over there for the Indonesia side, even though I like to go to the Philippine side. Could be like, so let me put it this way. Like, would it be worth going over there for the Indonesia side and then like just going on vacation? Like, is Indonesia cheap enough where I can go on vacation fairly reasonable for a week after that?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to. Did you go on vacation? Because you've been there quite a few times, right?
I've actually never been on vacation there.
Okay.
I've been there a number of times to different places, but only for a race and then home. But I'm sure that there are really good places, and not just Bali. Some maybe
I want to go to
locals know of something better than that.
All right. Well, one day, hopefully, I'll get over there. Maybe this will be the year that I get over there. All right. Then you kind of get back to Finland. Oh, sorry. We get back to Finland, and I know you kind of. Do we want to touch? Or do we want to go to TITC, or do we want to touch on Robert leaving Mayako? Because that was like significant for you, and that actually actually kind of caused a rift between you and I for a minute.
It did. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's where we fell out.
Well, I would say that situation tested my friendship issue to the utmost limits.
Yes, because
you got triggered.
Yes, I got triggered, but I had a good reason. Let's put it that way.
Well, that Robert leaves. He has a great worlds. Finished the 7th. I thought Robert had great worlds, but he kind of leaves Mayako. It's disappointing. I wouldn't say that I was surprised at him leaving, because I know that S-Works was also knocking on his door when he left Mugen, and he kind of got the deal that he was going to get there, from what I heard. But for you and him, I think it was a little bit. It was a little, because obviously we went on tour. I went on tour with Robert, so I got to know Robert in a different way, right? And hanging out with him, and he's become a friend of mine. Well, you and Robert have been friends for many, many years, and Robert's backed you on a lot of things. But it kind of was a ugly split between you and him to an extent. Not ugly, but it was some spats, online spats between you.
Yes, I would say that I understand his decision, but I disagree with it. Okay. But I would say it like this. If Robert was the right person to fill the role he had at Mayako, then it wouldn't have made sense for him to leave, right? But if Robert wasn't the right person to fill the role that he had at Mayako, then it made sense for him to leave. So when I sort of understood that or accepted that, then I was fine with the decision. But I was disappointed because of where we were and because of the opportunities that we had with Mayako for the future. And it's kind of like a relationship. Let's say you have a relationship with someone, like a personal relationship with someone, and then there's a problem and they decide to leave without addressing the problem. And then they tell you, and then instead of allowing for an opportunity to fix it, they've already made their decision and they're out, right? They've already found a new boyfriend, for example. So that I didn't agree with. That's the part that frustrated me, because there was no opportunity to find out definitely if he is the person to fill the role or not. Do you see what I mean? So we had worked together for 2 years, and then we had an opportunity to do something with Mayako, the youth mentoring program that we've started, and all these things, right, that you see happening. But we never had a chance to sit down and talk about, okay, this is where we are, these are the problems, this could be a solution. What do you think? Because he had gone and decided on his own that he is out and he's going S-Works. That's the part that didn't sit right with me. Even if at the end of that, we had talked about everything and he says, okay, I still think that I will go with S-Works. Even if that had been the end result, which is the same, it would have been achieved in a different way. And that's how I think that it should have been done. Does that make sense?
Oh, I understand. And we talked about this off, when this happened. And we both came to a conclusion, if I remember correctly, is this seems to be a reoccurring thing with you when you say you're not finding the right person. So then I remember, if I said correctly, that you have to kind of look at yourself and find out why that's happening, right?
No, but
Can I finish?
Okay.
Can I finish? And I think you and I decided on this, that look, you are fucking one of the hardest guys to communicate with, right? I remember, I'll give an example. Remember when we was doing that poster for the first tour and Liam was doing it? Like, I had this idea, we'll get some posters and we'll sign them and give them away to people maybe on the South America tour, right? And I remember basically you got it and I didn't like it, and we showed it to you and you go, it's shit. And we're like, well, what needs to be fixed with it? Make it less shit, right? And I remember Liam just fucking lost his shit, right? Like, privately to me. And I said, look, calm down. Let's really look at it objectively. How can it be better? Because I had kind of figured out how to work with you. So you have to accept a little bit of response or some responsibility, or the responsibility in that, and your way of communicating with people to get things done. Now, from the outside looking in, it looks like you're very involved with everything that's going on now in the Mayako community. Maybe you backed off of that a bit as well, expecting Robert to do it, but maybe Robert's out there not knowing how to do it, right? Or how you want it done.
You're kind of making my point for me now.
So now exactly, because we kind of talked about it. How do we translate what's in your brain to what you want people to do?
No, it doesn't have to be in my brain. This is my whole point.
Okay.
You can't have it both ways. You can't say that I'm hard to work with And that's the reason nothing works out, right? You can't say that. And also at the same time say, you are not involved. You left him to his own devices and he didn't know what to do. Like, you have to pick one. I agree that I can be hard to work with. I agree, or probably am, I should say. I am hard to work with. I agree. But me saying that someone isn't the right person for the job is what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't tie into me being hard to work with. It's not the same conversation, right? Because in this situation, the reality was that I wanted to be less involved with Mayako and all the different programs. I literally wanted to do InvisibleSpeed, design and develop the car. That's it. The right person could have taken that and done with it as they wish, in a sense. Like, they know where we are. They know what the brand's philosophy is. They know what we want to achieve. And they would do that. And I would be fine with that. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
So that's why I say in these situations, it hasn't been the right person for the job, because they would have required that I still do and a lot and lead and manage them, which I am not that person to do. And I don't want to do that. Do you see the issue at hand?
I agree. So I get that point. So I guess the question should be, this should be the better question. How do you influence and make that person into the right person to do the job? That's a better question.
I think that the only way that this can happen is if I now do what I am doing, which is do the work. Mayako grows and matures enough to where someone with an education in the right field and with the experience and knowledge and the right attitude wants to take over a bunch of those responsibilities, and they can be paid the equivalent amount of what they would be paid in another industry, because that is where the people with educations, skills, and knowledge go. Because very often in RC, unless you started the company, then there's not that much money for you in it. So they choose something where they can make more money, which is outside of RC. So
that's why we don't see engineers.
Not a former driver or something like that. Someone who has gone to school. They have had RC as a hobby. They know and love RC. They have an education. They have experience. And they want to do this. And they get paid sufficiently to do it. Then it can work.
That would be the reason we see engineers come and go so much in this industry. In a lot of companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All right. All good points. Yeah.
But you avoided the issue I had with you. Do you remember?
Yes. Well, no, I was about to get into that. So you got mad at Max and I for something we said on the podcast. How ironic. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So at first I was wondering what you was mad at. First you was mad because I said, I told you this, there was a lack of communication or miscalculation in communication where I thought you guys were going to announce the news about Robert at a certain date, right? So when I released that podcast, it was patron early for a while, and you had a problem with me saying, what was it again? That I confirmed.
Yes.
But at that point, when that podcast was going to come out, I thought the news was going to be public.
Yeah, but
and by the way, I did go change it. So you was mad at me for that. Well, I think you was mad at Max for other reasons. And then you and Max were going back and forth. And then you and I went back and forth. But I will say that really tested me with you. Probably we've had a lot of testing situations. And I had to sit down and say, am I gonna I was like, am I still gonna be friends with this guy or what? But at the end of the day, when I calmed down and you were still going, because you were still emotional about a lot of things, I had calmed down way before this. And then I kind of came to a decision. I was like, you know what? I kind of started this with you. You got me involved in all of this, and I'll never forget, forget that. And I will always appreciate all of what you've done for me. And I was like, JQ's been my boy for years and years and years. I don't have to handle you like I used to have to handle you no more, which I'm very thankful of, because, I'm able to come and then, when I go to these races, I don't have to, I don't think you need to be handled as much anymore. I think Pekka is doing a good job. But yeah, I kind of thought all about that and just said, all right, well, this is time to go do some, kind of just be cool with you, be friends, and focus on what I've got going on and what you got going on. So it tested me, trust me. But I am actually glad that I thought about it on the cool head and didn't do anything fucking, emotional to an extent.
Yeah, basically the issue was that when Robert told us that he was leaving, well, you knew at the same time, basically, but you knew directly from the source, right?
I knew directly from a few people.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you hear a rumor, then you can't confirm it because you aren't 100% sure, right? If you then know the people directly who are involved, and if they are your friends, then 100% sure about that, right? So if you confirm it, it is confirmed. People then know for sure that it's happening, correct?
Yeah, of course.
There's no doubt anymore. If you say something about Mayfield and Techno, then there's distance between the two of you, right? There's distance between you and Techno and your Mayfield. You aren't friends. You aren't working together. So people don't know for sure if what you're saying is true, especially because you have your sources and you have heard these rumors, right? So you can stamp it yourself, but people aren't sure, right? In a situation where you have heard directly from the people involved that something is happening and you confirm it, there's no doubt anymore in people's minds, right? When people say things to you, you have to assume that they are saying them to you in confidence, right? Not that you go on your podcast and you fucking spill the beans. In this situation, Robert had just told us, which meant we have to now make a plan. What are we going to do? How are we going to restructure Mayako? What's our next move? And we needed time to do that. So Robert was still paid by Mayako until his job was done. Then he started working for S-Works, but in private, behind the scenes, to give Mayako some time. Correct? Do you understand what I mean? And when you released that podcast, you ruined that. That's why I was mad. Because you knew the situation, right? Yes, there was a misunderstanding, you thinking it was public, but that's kind of irrelevant because you never spoke to me about it.
You're correct. I should have been and confirmed it with you at that point.
Yes.
But I will agree to your points. And that's also one of the reasons I sat back and just said, you know what? It isn't worth ruining our friendship over many years over this. So in the end, we ended up, you was mad at me for a while and I was just distant from you for a while and we worked it out. Because trust me, it was coming to the point where I was like, I wasn't going to speak to you anymore. But I understand you. Yeah, I was like, I understand your frustration, but that was just, again, lack of communication and miscommunication. Had I known that, that it wasn't going to be public, I didn't know it was not public until someone listened to it. And it wasn't public, it was on Patreon, but by that time it had already been done. But I get it. But I'm glad we didn't. And but you know what it did do? You know what that podcast did do? We reverse JQ'd you.
What's that?
Because you know how you used to try to motivate me by telling me I couldn't do something or something like that?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? You were super motivated after that. You went into over turbo mode and then Mayako social media picked up. You was commenting. I even think you called Max and I, Joe Rogan and Jamie of RC, and you was going to show us how it was done. So actually, that podcast, while it pissed you off, it fucking motivated you. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
Because I have to say, after that, the social media and everything for Mayako has been awesome. And I even have complimented, like I compliment Basement. I'm like, whoever's doing the social media, keep it up. Right. And I know it's you because I know your style. I know it's you and Pecco, right? You're a fucking minion. You're
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be me. That's kind of
I understand that.
my
I understand that. But the reason that it's awesome is because it's you, right? So you have to train somebody to do that, to make it awesome. So that's what you should do with Pecco, I guess. But it has been good. And I guess we should just segue right into. Should we segue into the Mayako youth membership, or should we go and talk about TITC, or what? What do you want to do? Because we're on the verge of Mayako. Well, let's just continue with that. So out of this started coming something that we always used to talk about when we was on the JQ racing, right? But now you're putting it into fruition. So maybe tell me, because I don't know how it works. Tell me about the mentor youth program and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So first, we thought about signing a top driver to try to have a winning driver in the pro class. Then kind of gave up on that and decided, okay, let's start the youth mentoring program, which we sort of had planned but never implemented. And then over the last sort of November, December, had to work really hard with some of the service centers and Basement Bauman and Pekko, who also joined at that time, to come up with a plan, like how to do it. And basically, the idea is that we don't want to be like the other brands who just sponsor everyone. Basically, if you have a Pulse, you race RC, you can get a discount. It doesn't appeal to me in the least bit. But we also need to sell cars. How do we do that then? Because someone will look at a Mayako, be denied a discount, and then they'll go to another brand who offers them a discount. So what we decided was, look, we have so much good information out there, and I have my InvisibleSpeed online course and all that stuff going on. How can we combine this in a sensible way? So we decided to start a program where we are looking for young drivers, and I should know this, right? I can't even remember now the age. Is it 25 and below is a youth?
I think 25 is too old, but anyway, go ahead.
No, not really in RC. So a youth driver is someone who wants to improve, who has dreams and goals and aspirations in racing. And Mayako can help that person achieve those goals. That's the idea. Then a mentor, there is no age limit for being a mentor, but there's a requirement. You have to be knowledgeable. You have to know things, and you have to be the kind of person that can help youth drivers. So we try to find mentors and youth in the same regions around the world and build up these sort of small Mayako local and regional teams. And this way, we will be able to support young drivers improve their racing faster. That's kind of the core idea of the program. And we have everyone that's sort of picked for this, they get a free membership and extra discounts. And depending on the level of racing that they do, there are different levels of sponsorship also, all the way to free product. But what everyone has to do, and it's like a symbolic gesture in a sense, they have to join a coaching course, InvisibleSpeed coaching course. And then what we have there is meetings among everyone, and we discuss setup, of course, and understanding your car, but also practice, how to practice. We are starting sort of our own VRC tournament where we use the video game for practice. We have set up homework that we do, so everyone does the same changes at their track. We have ways to practice and track progress. And when we do this sort of as a group, I think it also motivates people to go to the track more and actually spend quality time practicing instead of just going there to drive. So this is something that I believe can be very valuable for Mayako in the future. I don't think we'll see the sort of benefit of this immediately or after 1 year, but in a few years of running this, I think we'll start to see more good young drivers emerge on the scene, and they'll be running a Mayako buggy because of this. So it's something we do now, but we'll see the true value and result of it in coming years.
Yeah, I like that idea, right? I like the how you've melded both InvisibleSpeed and Mayako into this, right? The coaching course and all that type of stuff, because it's you're gonna need that knowledge to teach some of these guys. I really, because I was looking at the announcements over the last few months. Obviously, I'm very proud of the Bermuda one because you got Salty Joe involved, Quaz, that young kid Marcel, and then the other young kid. I don't know him too much, but I know Quaz and Mars. Well, I met Marcel at Wicked Weekend last year, so me being from Bermuda, we're proud of that. And I like the idea, and it is going to take time, right? Because we are in a culture where a certain way is a certain way, and it's RC can be very cliquey, right? Especially amongst the teams. So it's a different approach. I think a lot of what we always used to talk about on our trips and all that type of stuff is being implemented, and that's good to see. Very good to see. I guess the next question would be Mayako related. When can people expect truggies? Because that's the second. I'm sure you've been asked that question quite a lot.
Yeah,
and you have some. Also, can you tell us about the new car? Because like new features on the new car or the new release of the car.
It was supposed to be, the truggy was supposed to be done as a sort of conversion kit that if you have the Mayako buggy, you can convert it into a truggy for DNC, but it wasn't. So now I assume that we will have it in time for Silver State. That's the goal. And this year it's members only, so it still requires that we use some other truggies, lower arms and fuel tank and body mounts. But all the drivetrain, drive shaft, chassis, hubs, all of that is Mayako. So it's coming, and during this year we will keep developing it and then put it into production next year. So for non-members, it's still a long way away, but for members, they are going to be able to race a Mayako truggy this year.
Is it can you say which specific car arms you use, or you don't want to reveal that?
I think that most people who have put together a car are using X-ray arms because X-ray has a C-hub front end. So X-ray front and rear arms. I know some people have also used HB arms, but they, I think, require more modification and TLR also. So I guess my X-ray arms are the ones that people have used the most.
Okay. Well, how far out is Mayako from having its own arms, or is it just something
that's going to be a next year thing?
Okay. All right. And you just released some new Mayako cars for 2025. What's some of the differences? If somebody's asking and then wants to know out there, I might myself want to know.
What we do is every year, even if the car doesn't change, it's going to be a new car, new year model, because we only do one production batch a year. So if the production batch is sold out, there won't be more cars until the end of that year when the new batch is ready. If we have cars left over, then we have to keep selling them until they're done, until we can release the new batch. So that's different to how brands work now, I think. We don't want to make changes that are just for the sake of having a new car. I think that's stupid. So, for example, the difference between the MX-8 24 nitro buggy and MX-8 25 nitro buggy is minimal. You can literally buy, you could buy that 24 now and it is the new car, but we haven't released a MX-8 25 because the 24 isn't sold out, right? But it's interesting because people then in their mind, they think that, oh, we can't buy that because it's old, but the 25 is the exact same car. You know, it's we haven't actually updated the spec. It's the same. We just it's new year,
placebo,
so we have a
dude.
new batch.
It's placebo.
So, it's
like when somebody says $199 versus $2.
Yeah, so this is something that we have to still work on messaging better, and so people understand.
I get okay. So how would I go about before we get onto Mayako and silly season? Tell me, because I don't even know. And this is a lot of questions I get when I'm traveling, right? How do I go about buying a Mayako? Like, and do I have to become a member? All this type of stuff.
Oh, you can buy Mayako just like any other car. A-Main stocks it in America, for example, online. It's a web shop many people use. Mayako has their own usa.mayako.com web shop, which products ship out of Illinois. Any dealers who would want to carry Mayako can. We have a number of Mayako service centers, as we call them, around the country, who don't have to be hobby shops even. They can be sort of local racers who want to support the local racing scene. They have kits and parts available. They can sell them locally and fund their own racing in this way. So that, let's say the barrier to entry, in a sense, to join Mayako on various different levels, just as a hobby driver or a youth driver or a mentor or a service center, is very low. You just want to have to do, like, the only thing you need is you have to want to do it, right? And you contact Mayako and then we figure it out. So that I think this brand works in a very different way to the others in the industry. And it's funny. It's funny that people still think you have to be a member or that you can't buy the car. It's that first impression that people have is so strong. And it's kind of, that's why we did it the way also, that you had to be a member to buy the car, just to get people to understand that Mayako is different. But now it's taking years and years to have people understand that, yes, it's different, but you can also approach Mayako as any other brand. It's just, there's more to it. That's kind of the situation now. So anyone can buy the car, anyone can sell the car, anyone can run the car. And then if you are truly passionate about RC, if you want more, then you can become a member. Then you can have a truggy before it's released. You can be involved in meetings where we make decisions regarding the development design of the truggy. You know, you can be involved in that if you want, or you can be involved in the youth mentoring program and join a sort of coaching course where you are sure to make the most out of your racing. So there's just more opportunities with Mayako, not less. And that's sort of becomes very boring and annoying to explain to people because the information is all out there. You just have to look.
This is true, but people don't like to look. They don't like to look and they don't like to be told. Sounds all good, man. Sounds very good. Sounds very good. And like I said, like the social media has been good. I watched a video that Roach did last night, his latest video, the Mayako experience. Roach RC, he's one of our co-hosts, and it was good. And he seems to thoroughly be enjoying it. And he wants to be a mentor. So, you know, hurry up and get to his application because I think that's a good dude to have as a mentor. Can't do nitro though. He's allergic to nitro. Literally. Physically allergic to nitro.
Oh, yeah?
He like breaks out in a rash and all that stuff. All right. All righty then. Real quick, let's get into some of the silly season stuff. All right, I got a question for you. Was Phend ever a real thing? Was it a possible deal? when you was there like feasible talks with Phend joining Mayako at some point, or was that all
Yes.
smoke and mirrors?
No, there really was.
Okay, like how close?
I don't know. He would have to answer that. I mean, I think he considered it seriously, but the biggest issue was 10 scale, and he kind of prefers 10 scale really over 8 scale, and he would have needed a solid 10 scale only deal.
And that's getting harder and harder to get, right? Because Schumacher's really the only one that can do it, unless you do like
Yeah,
a
but
one-up
I think
deal.
there was actually some like almost a situation where maybe X-Ray could have considered doing that too.
Maybe to split costs.
Yeah,
because to be fair, X-Ray that's where they're huge in 10 scale in the USA, really big.
yeah.
So that would have. I mean, they did work out something with Cavallari. So
Yeah.
do you think that's something we're going to see in the future? Maybe teams like splitting costs?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. But we might as well get into Cav. We'll talk about DNC and Cav when we get to that. But it's like 6 years after. I remember when in 2018, when you and Cav had that bromance going on, and you was helping you. This is when you was like staying in, you come for 5 months of the year, 6 months of the year, and stay in the USA. And you was going to OCRC with him, go to Thunder Alley with him. He was really hanging out with Cav. And this is when he was still like significant. I'm not saying he's not significant now. He's very less significant now than he was back then. He was like just coming, the rumors were going around that he's going to leave AE. I know he was actively trying to sign him. I think I was really upset that we didn't. Everybody in the RC world was asking if he was going to sign him. There was a lot going on. He ended up going S-Works. But you end up getting Cav, but like 6 years too late, and like giving him a second chance to race RC cars, it seems like.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. I remember one thing, by the way, from back then. I got an associated truggy to race, and it was there were some, let's say, basic things messed up with it. And I went to the track a few times and figured out a bit of a setup, and I made sort of carbon rear arm braces for it. And then I remember this DNC comes along, Cavallari and Rivkin, they have those carbon braces and the setup that I made, and they go 1-2 in truggy. I remember that. That was actually probably the first time when I started thinking about when I started considering that maybe these other people and other companies, they don't actually have everything figured out. It's just that they have the best drivers.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I started thinking like that. And then I started thinking that maybe if I had the best drivers, I could do the same.
Interesting.
So that was kind of proving to myself in a sense.
So actually, when you go back and look at this when InvisibleSpeed's in like iRacing and everybody's using it 10, 15 years from now, and you're a multi-millionaire, you're going to be like, that's where it started.
I wish that would happen, but I very much doubt it.
Well, I think the beauty,
make a decent living, I'd be happy already.
Absolutely, we'd be happy with just. But I think InvisibleSpeed's so much bigger than RC, But yeah, you get Cav. Let's talk about actually getting Cavallari on the team, because you was actively hunting. Like Mayako was looking for drivers, right? You was trying to get drivers and just couldn't sign any. But you get Cavallari late in the game.
Yeah, almost too late, because, like I said, then that window closed in a sense, because we decided to just focus on the youth mentoring program and not have a driver. And then last minute, there was Brandon Rose, was someone that the Americans sort of brought up, like he would be really good. Let's sign this guy. And wasn't really, I mean, I wasn't also sort of at that point any more interested in signing someone, because I had sort of made the plan already, like, let's do this now without the top guy. And then also, you have to think that if you sign someone, okay, Brandon Rose will be okay. He's young, up and coming. But Cavalieri, he's sort of what people are saying, like he's washed up, he's over it, he's going to retire soon. We already had that with Mayako, with Thibaut and Robert, right? So it's Mayako is retiring yet another driver, basically, is the vibe. So Brandon Rose was the last driver that Mayako tried to sign. Then he went associated. And then for Cavalieri, there was never even really a chance or an attempt, right? But then right at the last minute, he reached out. And then I just thought, like, what if InvisibleSpeed signed him? And then the story makes sense because people are writing him off. I believe he can still do well. If InvisibleSpeed can help Cavalieri win again, that's a story. And that will give credit to InvisibleSpeed for helping him do that. So then I thought, okay, we have to find a way to do that. And that's what we did.
Yeah, you did. And, I said one of my favorite moments of DNC, and I guess we'll segue into DNC here in a minute here, was we're going to get into TITC. I think we're going to leave that for last because we're kind of segueing right into DNC here. Was when Cavalieri bumped from the C to the B main in E-Buggy, and he was up there like, yeah, like pumped, like he won the Worlds. And I watched that, and I was like, that man just built up a lot of confidence, right? He had a good quality, he was on BQ and all that stuff in DNC. But we're going to get into DNC here in a minute. But we got to pay some bills. So we got to do that.
Are you looking to take your ride-on car to the next level? Ride-on cars are fun and look good, but they're just too slow. ML Toys makes it easy. With plug-and-play modifications like motors, speed and brake controls, advanced gearing options, 4-point safety harnesses, and lighting upgrades like emergency lights, underglow kits, and headlights, ML Toys is the one-stop shop to make your ride-on car the coolest ride-on car in the neighborhood.
That's right. Thank you, ML Toys, for all your support. If you guys want to check out, I just dropped my second podcast on the Power Wheels podcast. It's a chat with a race promoter who's doing Power Wheels drag racing with his son, Alex Teeter of Oxford Power Wheels. And if you got some young kids and you want to set up your Power Wheels, you can follow the links in the written description and save some money. I'm actually in the middle of doing that with my daughter's Power Wheel as well. And also a big shout out to Side Piece Racing. Elevate your RC experience with sidepieceRacing.com, North America's exclusive distributor of top tier brands like Automatics, Rocher, Wild Turbofan, Montec Racing, Corsa-Tech, Phoenix Racing, and Wheel Speed. Whether you are seeking precision engineered car kits, high performance batteries, or aerodynamic bodies, we've got you covered. Enjoy fast shipping and exceptional customer service, ensuring you get the best gear when you need it. Visit sidepieceRacing.com today and race ahead of the competition. Let them know you heard about it on the No Name RC podcast. All right, JQ, DNC, your triumphant return to DNC. A race you swore on you was not going to go back to after 2023, but you went back. And because DNC's, even though you piss and moan about it, and you don't like it, you say you don't like it, you really do like it at the end of the day.
DNC has the potential to be a great race, but it is a horrible shit race, really.
He means that he really enjoyed himself.
No, the track is good. The track is good. It gets rough. It gets challenging. That's good. Atmosphere for the mains is good. Mm-hmm. Most of the best drivers in the world are there. That's good. Everything else about it is terrible. Okay? I still have that same opinion. It's just about making money, not about an enjoyable event for the racers. It's not about elevating the sport. It's not about creating sort of some kind of media coverage that actually would help us in some way. No, I still have that same opinion, and it hasn't changed. And I didn't want to go, and the only reason I went was that we signed Cavalieri, and if we wanted to get any value, then we needed to go. So,
but besides all of that, you enjoyed yourself.
Yes. Besides that, I did enjoy myself
We're not
because
good.
I don't care about my racing anymore. So the fact that we didn't get track time, it didn't bother me, you know. But for example, spending the money to go there to help Cavalieri figure out his car and all that. You have to understand, we had been there already 2 days and they hadn't run Nitro Buggy a single time, right? The first time they hit the track was Q1.
Yeah.
Not only that, they only got 2 qualifiers.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Okay. And then the main. So it's when we go to races where we have multiple practice runs, we have 2 or 3 seeding runs, we have 5 qualifiers, we have long mains, you know, and we have a main warm-up or semi-final warm-up, you know, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different thing, you know. You can actually prepare and develop a setup, and it's a whole different approach, and it's more fun.
Okay, so in this case, I actually think the 700 and just about 700 entrants that they had, I know it was less people. You did say that it felt like it was much less people there, and it was. Statistics, logistics say that. The issue is the rain. You can't control that, right?
Yes,
now,
but,
I don't want to get into the whole argument if it was good or bad or whatever, but I do have a question, and I know this isn't the same as going out there getting practice on the actual track, but is there any advantage in using the practice track that he has there to go out there and test things?
No, that is ridiculous.
Okay.
So especially that he charges money for it. Well, now I think people couldn't even use it because it rained and it became a pond. But
okay,
yeah, that's I think the whole concept of having a practice track and people using it just proves how shit of a race it is, right? You pay to enter a race, and then you pay to drive on a practice track because you can't fucking race at the race you paid to be at. So stupid, but I don't even want to talk about it.
all right. So we got. I wanted to get those complaints out of you early because I know you have to complain about that.
Yeah.
But you did have a good race. I remember messaging you like the first day, and you go, "I wrenched for 13 hours straight."
It was fucking incredible, actually.
You wrenched a Cav's car for 13 hours straight. Was you just unfucking it?
Yes, basically, yeah.
So you had a lot of things wrong.
It's harder to rebuild a car than to just build a car. Like I could have, it would have probably been easier to have a kit and just build it and say, run this. Oh my God. Yeah.
I just remember and then a lot of people were worried about you and Cavalieri's relationship. And I was like, I don't think so because they're friends. And I think that, yes, Cav has his outbursts of, you know, temper tantrums. I don't know if it's still like that anymore. But I said one thing, they're both awkward. So they'll probably fit right in. And
yeah,
it sounds like you guys did. It sounds like you guys did.
Yeah, I wasn't worried because we've worked together before. Like, not sort of officially, but we have, and we always got along. So I wasn't really worried at all. Because I think the thing with Cavalieri also is he is actually very direct, very honest, which I can appreciate, you know?
Right.
Like someone like, well, even someone like Thibaut, in a sense, it's like, it's different because you are dealing on a sort of emotional level with someone, okay? Which you can't be direct. It's all these, it's, to me, I'm not saying it is, but to me, it's like you are playing a game, okay? And you don't really, the game doesn't have rules because it's ever changing. And how the fuck do you do that? I don't know how to do that, okay? But someone like Cavalieri is very clear. It's direct. It's straight. It can be anger or frustration or something, but it's like, you know, the reason. It's right there, you know? And when it's good, and you know why. It's very, I can deal with that, you know? So I was never worried about that.
Did you have a moment where you thought he had like an outburst and you was like, hey, what the fuck? Or was it Was he kind of just cool?
He was mad. What? I can't remember now. He was really mad after after something. I can't remember. Was it the second qualifier when basically he could have made the main, or he would have made the main?
He got taken out. He got taken out
No,
by a whole
he
bunch of
didn't
guys.
really-
I saw that in his qualifier.
Not really. He was too impatient. He caught up to Robert, and then he was too impatient. He should have, held back a bit, and then he got caught on Robert, and then other cars hit him, I think. Maybe it was after that he was really mad. I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, one time. But even that, it was fine.
I mean, I remember one qualifier, it might have been he dropped all the way. He was leading and he had some wrecks and dropped all the way down and was like, oh, that's over. And then he climbed his way back up, And like I said, when he was pumping his fists after the C main bump to the B main, I was like, wow, Kev is feeling it.
Yeah, but that was a fun race because it was like a lot of people were watching and it was really close. And then it seemed like such an impossible feat in a sense. And then he just had an amazing run in the whoops. And it was like the old Pudge luck kind of thing because he passed Brandon. Then over the next jump, Brandon just clipped his wing and flipped, right? And Kev's battery dumped. He wasn't playing it safe or something. No, he dumped on the last lap. He couldn't do the jumps. He rolled over the finish line. So had Brandon not clipped his wing,
he would have passed him.
Not crashed, Brandon would have passed him back.
Pudge luck?
Yeah, so it was funny. And all of that together was just a really fun moment. And honestly, I think that he did gain some confidence from that.
Yes.
Just because he was out and then he made it happen. He made it happen,
Yeah.
Then probably somehow something clicked in his mind like, fuck, I can still do this.
Yeah.
Because then the Nitro mains were good. Like they were really good. So, yeah.
I saw when it was Greg and Ludog pitting Cav, right? I think it was in the B final. It might have been the A final, but it might have been the B final. And I remember just sitting there and I was with Mike Hill and was watching it. And as they did it, I was like, you can't get more California than that. There's a world champion pitting a world champion with a world champion's dad, all from California. And I thought that was a cool thing. Like, even having Cameron has, got Dagani to get out and do more racing here as well.
Yeah.
So I talked to a few guys about Cav, like some of the racers, top racers, I'm not going to say their names. And they said the biggest issue with Cav is not practicing, like not going to the track and putting in time. And he needs to put in time. And I understand that now he's in life and he's got 2 kids and all that type of stuff. But now is the time that he needs to put in the time if he wants to continue to do this. What are his goals? Like, what have you talked to him? What is his goals? Like, is he just trying to stay here and get paid as much as he can? Does he still think he can win?
He wants to win, but we have to have a serious conversation of how badly he wants to win, because I can see that he could win. I really think he could win. He had moments of driving and things which sort of show that he can do it, right? And why couldn't he? But the problem is now he needs to put in the work. And the work is for him to be 100% connected to the car, feeling the car, knowing what it's going to do, and understanding the changes he needs to make to the setup. Okay? Even if I was there and I would help him, he has to have an idea himself, because that's when the best setup changes are made. Because I can suggest 2 different things, for example, because there are 2 different ways we could go. And he has to know which one is the right one, because he's the one driving the car. And unless he does that, then I don't think he'll win. But if he does that, I think he can win. Because I know how good the car is. I know what it has done for other drivers, like Ronnefalk, for example. He won a European Championship, arguably on the worst condition for him, based on his past. in a dominant fashion.
High grip track.
I understand why he did it. I know why. And I think that when we look at some of his competition, they are not sort of super happy with their cars always, but they drive them and they make the most out of what they have, and they don't make mistakes, and they have good racecraft, and because they put in the time. And when they aren't happy, they can still make the right decisions to make things good enough, and then they can still be in contention to win. So my argument is kind of that he can get in a position where, in his opinion, his car is perfect. Okay? When you have a top driver who is in form, who has a perfect car, that's when they can do amazing things. That's where I believe that Canas has been at times now recently, where Ongaro has been recently. That's why you see those performances out of them. It's because they are in form and their car has been perfect for them. Right? And then when you look at someone like Coelho or Ronnefalk, they have possibly been in form, but the car has not been perfect for them. That's the difference. And I see in 8-scale off-road right now, many drivers who are even winning, they are like that. There's room to improve there. So I would like to do that with Cavalieri, and then we see what happens. But it will require that he puts in the time at the track. That's not something I can do for him.
Have you worked out a schedule for him, or are you pushing him to go to the track? Are you in communication with him like that, or what's because this is going to take some effort from you as well,
Yes. Now, before Silver State, I really hope that we will see that this sort of process or this plan starts, and then Silver State, we do that race together, and then we fly direct to the Philippines from America, Pekko, him and me. Then we do the Philippine Masters, and then he goes home. So I think at least during that time, at the latest, then we will have a clear picture of where this is heading and what's going to happen.
Okay. Interesting. It's going to be an interesting project. You finally got your man 6 years later. 6 years later. Yeah. Okay. But I mean, also, I assume that the goal would be for Mayako to also pursue at some point a top tier driver that can go out there and win at any track, at any race.
Yes, and sort of younger one.
Okay.
Younger winning driver. Yes, but there are not that many. And yeah, each year you have to check whose contract is up, what's possible, and go from there.
All right. Let's. We kind of did a DNC recap altogether. I don't want to go too deep into it with you. I did catch your live the other day. Some of your comments briefly on Mayfield. I thought it was some great racing. I thought the Truck Man was one of the best races that was there. The Nitro Buggy Man was a good race too. I thought Fuller kind of lost it in that when he was leading and he made that mistake, and it was just never really. Mayfield just, I use the word to describe Mayfield, which is resilient, right? He's just able to muscle a car. Maybe it's not the best car around, but he's able to muscle around and win one of his races, especially on a track like DNC. And I'm not saying that his cars weren't good. Techno did a good job sweeping everything. But maybe you can give us a little quick synopsis on your thoughts on, I would say, the Pro Nitro Buggy main at Mayfield, Fuller, and Phend. And also, were the Europeans, I want to get into this because I have a theory about this, why the Europeans were not able to really do much this year. Even though Canas came back and Boots came back in the Pro Nitro Buggy main, they were never really a threat besides the Canas TQ and E-Buggy.
Yeah. Okay, well, first of all, Fuller had an extra pit stop compared to Mayfield and Phend. Other than that, did something happen? Do you know?
He crashed while he was about 8 seconds in the lead with 15 minutes to go. He crashed in that triple. And that's where I think if he goes back, and because he was on tap, if he wouldn't have made that crash, he was on tap to negate that extra pit stop.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And even when he did come out he was only about 2 seconds back of, for his last pit stop, he came off about 5 minutes left to go, and he was about 2 seconds back of Mayfield. So he still had feasible time, but he was in the lead for, I don't know the exact gap, but it was a big gap. He made a mistake in the triple. He got Marshall, got caught up on the pipe, and allowed Mayfield back. And he still was there, but he just lost that rhythm. And that's where I think the resilience from Mayfield. Yes, he had a one less pit stop, and he knew that. So he probably could have drove a lot more calm because he knew he had that in his back pocket.
Yeah. I would say that Fuller probably should have won that race. Like, I feel like watching it, I feel like he lost the race. Okay? That's kind of the feeling I have.
I would agree with you.
But I wasn't sure what had happened. I knew the pit stop, but I still felt like he must have had some kind of crashing going on or something. But that's really on him. I will say it's hard mentally to race when you know that you have an extra pit stop compared to others, because it's sort of, even if you're leading, you don't feel safe. You don't feel like, oh,
that
I
makes
got
sense
this now. Because you know, oh no, I have to have enough of a lead so that then, so it's mentally, if you actually think at all, I don't know if it does, but if you do, then that is something that adds some pressure, because you know you have the extra stop. But even so, he had the speed, but he didn't make it happen. Everyone was crashing. Mayfield had one moment where I remember thinking, like, holy shit, Mayfield's blowing out. And then somehow he figured it out and stopped crashing. And then Phend, it's incredible, but now, in the past, it was easy. I could watch a race, then I could pull some clips and say, look, he was driving straight and the car flew off the track, kind of thing. Where it was, and also knowing the car, it was easy to tell, like, okay, this is the problem. Now he has an X-Ray, which is a quite sort of stable, calm, easy car by nature, I would say. Like, when you just build it, set it up, it's not the kind of car that is super nervous and flies off the track, in my opinion. I don't know if they've done something to make it that way, but anytime I've tried an X-Ray, it is not that car. And as soon as Phend would get in the lead, many times, I felt like, oh, come out the pits. Oh, he's just leading. He would just drive straight into a bump and flip over or spin out or like lose it somehow. And I really, when you have done so many laps already, you know where the bumps are. Like, you have to know, right? Then why does he just pin it, not knowing 100% if he's going to hit a bump or not? This I actually don't understand. So I am even more confident in saying that Phend fends himself. Like, fending is a term. Fending is being overly confident. Fending is being overly confident in your skills and performance capabilities of the car, where you're like, there's a bump there, I'm going to hit it full throttle and nothing's going to happen. And then you fucking fly off the track because you do it like 5 times well, and then the 6th time, oh, you fly off the track. That's fending yourself, and you don't need to do it. So really, if let's put it this way, if Fuller doesn't win the race, then Phend should have won that race. Come on, because they were like unforced errors. He's coming up to that first triple, you do the double, then you turn left. He turns in like a foot too early and flips. Why? Like, what do you gain by hugging that pipe that close? What do you gain? Nothing. Then why not just drive around the corner, right? Why would you try and gain like a 1,000th of a second, 100th of a second? Even if it was a 10th of a second. Let's say it was a 10th. Why? Why? Because you know that it's a blind corner that you are judging from the driver's stand. And if you clip the pipe, you will flip over. So just go a bit wider where that never, ever happens. Okay? Like those kind of mistakes that I see, it's not the car, it's not the setup, it's not the track, it is his fucking decisions he makes when he drives. And I do not understand that.
You know what? I like Phend, and I've gotten to know him a lot better over this, but I'm going to give an example of what you're talking about. And I, too, was mesmerized at this. 2021 Nationals coming on, like, it was a big, long, sweeping turn. Like, you could go around it pretty fast, right? And there was a divot there, a hole there. And I would watch him, and he would hit it every lap. And some laps, it's okay, right? But 1 or 2 laps, it gets you. And he would do it. He did it every lap. And then I remember one time, I think it was in the lead, he did it. And guess you know where he ended? Up off the track, like completely off the track, because he's hitting it at such speed, right? And he's just going over. And you can see each time he was able to control the car. So I guess his ability, the car isn't able to keep up with his abilities, is what you're saying? Or he's just he needs to just back it down to where he isn't taking those chances when they're not needed. And in that case, it's a mental thing, right? He's got to fix that mentally again. And that's what I think Barry Baker brought to Phend's program a lot. Maybe not yes, he's a wrench and all that stuff, but the mental side of things, the racecraft side of things. So he can do it, because we saw a big improvement on the Phend under Barry Baker. No, to say that, he did also win SIC. It's going to be interesting to see what he does at PNB with Phend. But I understand where you come from with that theory, because I've seen it.
I think it's more from 10 scale because the 10 scale tracks have been super smooth for a long time already. And it's just 5 minutes. You have to sort of hustle. You can't play it safe or sort of take your time to figure out the track and build your speed. But also, having said that, you have to know that this is not 10 scale. Okay, this is 8 scale, and you have 45 minutes, and you can figure out the track. You can try some different lines, intentionally even going a bit slower. You can lose that lap time just so you know where you can drive and where you can drive fast. Right? And then if you're offline, just play it safe, because you don't know, you can't remember every fucking single bump on the track. So if you're going somewhere you are not normally, then just slow down a bit, steady on the throttle, get back to where you know what's happening, and then continue, right? Like that split second of I'm offline, I don't care, I'm just going to keep going. Oh, I crashed. Like, why? I'm offline. Oh, I'm going to get back online. Okay, I'll go again. Yeah, you lost a couple of tenths, but
it's better than crashing.
Yeah, you avoided that potential crash.
Okay.
That's like, I don't know, that is racecraft, I think.
I would agree with you.
Yeah, it's like if you're on the last lap and you're trying to pass someone, yeah, okay, you're offline, just keep going. Don't play it safe then. But when you are 20 minutes into a 45-minute race, play it safe.
And I 100% believe that racecraft is what won Mayfield all those races, and he should have won Truggy. He almost won Truggy as well.
I don't know. Seth was the fastest in Truggy.
He was, but he made those mistakes. You know who saved Seth's Truggy race twice? AJ Schumacher, because Seth crashed coming onto the straightaway twice. He said 3 times, and I messaged Seth and I said, "Dude, you literally had me screaming at the TV, like, because you crashed there 3 times." But AJ Schumacher was sprinting as that car was tumbling, and he was able to get down that straightaway, flip it back on, and he jumped up into pit lane. He did that 2 times. I said, you need to cut AJ a check. I'm probably going to have Seth on as a live show guest this Wednesday on my show. As we're recording this on a Tuesday. But yeah, I think Mayfield shows again why he's Mayfield, especially on these type of tracks. He's able to hustle these cars around, muscle, and just drive cool, calm, and collective and get it done. You could see after Truggy, I don't know if you watched it. Did you watch any of the interviews, anything like that?
No, I just watched the Truggy race live at the track, but I haven't watched any coverage.
Yeah, so after the Truggy race, you can see in his brain, he was trying to figure out what was going on with his car. He was like, I think something was going on with his car, and he kind of, he didn't give like Seth the flowers, because you could see he was trying to figure out why I just lost this race by 0.6 of a second. And
someone wrote somewhere about diff gears locking, or they asked the question like, was it a gear. Was it a diff with 2 gears that locked?
3 years.
Or 3 gears that locked? You
Yeah.
know? So I don't know if he had a diff issue, but that guy who posted that clearly had heard that he had a diff issue.
I think it's actually in our questions. It might be. Oh, no, somebody posted it. But then.
But you know what?
What up?
I make beer disappear, and now I have to pee.
Yeah, overall, I think I said this already, as a fan watching from the outside, I really wanted to be at the DNC. You don't have to give him his flowers. Congratulations, Salty Joe. He finished 6th in Sportsman Nitro Buggy. And he had a blast. Had he told me that he was going to learn, I probably would have been able to go. But I thought he was going with a bunch of other guys. And then I would have split rooms with him and split rental car. I probably would have been able to go. Before we go on to TITC, what's your thoughts on the Cole Sparko situation? But I just want your quick thoughts, and then we'll move on, because that was something serious that came out of there.
Okay. You know, I've had a discussion with my lawyers, and my lawyers have advised me not to comment on this, but you know me, I'm going to have to comment. But also, I have done a lot of impulsive things in the past. Maybe my ADHD medication is working, because this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say that I do have an opinion, but I'm not going to share it. You know why?
Why?
Because even if I am right, I lose in this situation, this conversation. And why do I lose? Because we live in a day and age where people make decisions with their emotions, not critical thinking, and where cancel culture on both sides of the political spectrum is the name of the game. So this is not an issue that I'm involved in. I have a lot of other things to deal with and focus on right now. So I don't know the facts. I have an opinion based on what I've heard, but you're not going to hear it. This is the first time ever that I'm doing this.
I'm very proud of you, JQ. I'm very proud, because we got a little bit of a shellacking for it, as well. And you are correct.
Do you remember that movie with Jack Nicholson? It's a trial, but when you're in the army, what's the name of the trial? When court-martials, yes. Yeah. And then he's on the stand, Jack Nicholson, and he's the whatever high-ranking officer. And then he just flips and he yells like, "You can't handle the truth." Basically, like, he loses when he admits to this, in a sense. But he goes on this rant and he says, "You can't handle the truth." That's how I feel right now. Okay? That's how I feel.
Okay, I have a better question.
Can't handle the truth.
Yeah, I have a better question. Does Cole continue as a pro RC racer in RC?
I don't know, because Cole, back when Neo Buggy was a thing. By the way, tangent. You know what I heard?
No.
Harper Adams is the place that had Neo Buggy. Harper Adams is coming back next year as Buggyland.
I know that.
I hadn't heard that.
You didn't know that?
No. But
you didn't see the commercial?
No. If that's the case, I think that's going to be a success.
It's going to be awesome.
It's because Buggyland is like the new, I don't know what to call it, but like,
I know what you mean.
The new Neo Buggy, in a sense. Like, Buggyland is a brand. People know the tracks are great. It's going to be a good race. Like, okay, right? So, yeah, anyway, tangent.
You didn't know that? I didn't believe you didn't know that.
No, put it on the RC Racing TV Ongaro interview, I think.
Yeah, I got to go watch that.
Yeah.
I got to go watch that. I'm hoping Ongaro comes on this podcast one day, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
So,
him and Drake never going to come
one Neo race. We were at the bar, the local bar where the drivers would go, and Ogden was there, and he had a few beers. He was getting a bit drunk. He was actually, I believe he was still on TLR. Yeah, he said that he is retiring, that he's quitting. that he doesn't want to race and doesn't want to be a pro driver anymore. He's getting a real job. I can't remember what it was. So back then he said that, right? But then all these years later, he's still doing it. And then like after the HB deal, I thought, okay, well, now he's done. But then he still keeps doing it. So I don't know what the hell he wants to do.
Would you hire Cole Ogden?
Um,
Would Mayako hire?
Mayako would never hire him. But InvisibleSpeed, InvisibleSpeed could be an option, okay? But this would require major unpacking to explain, okay? And there would be some requirements. And if Cole is watching this, if Cole wants to do something in RC, InvisibleSpeed is an option, but it's not like, oh my God, we have to get Cole. He's so great. No, there's more to it. But
here's a question: do you think he can get something done? Because I've seen Cole do amazing things when he wants to. If he puts his head in, if he puts full focus and works towards it.
Okay, Cole is a different kind of situation to, for example, Cavalieri, because Cavalieri is a 4-time world champion. He's seen it. He's done it. He has demonstrated he has the willpower, the mental strength, the skill, the talent, all of it, right? But now he's a family man. He has other priorities. He's getting older. The professionalism and level of racing has gone up compared to before. So Cavalieri can do well, but it requires a lot of effort on his part, and that we spoke about that already. Cole is a different story because Cole is extremely gifted, naturally talented as a driver, but he has never put in the work. He has never had that mindset and focus and that, okay? For those who know motocross and supercross, Cole is like Josh Hansen. Extremely talented, but likes to party, likes to have fun, doesn't like the grind. And that's fine. But how can I put this? If you are like that, then you should stay, find your lane in a sense and stay in it, because Cole can be extremely valuable to a brand if he understands and accepts what his role is. Let me explain. Adam Drake hasn't won shit, okay? In how many years? Who do people still look up to and follow? Adam Drake, right? Because Adam understands his role and his position in the industry, and that's what he does. And he does that well. So he is relevant. And then if he qualifies into the main at DNC, people are stoked. They're like, oh, fuck, you made the main, right? Because he doesn't need to win. So with Cole, if he wants to, there could be opportunities in RC, because that's what he knows and that's what he's very good at. And he's a social person also. And that's kind of one thing that's missing, actually. Someone who's very good at racing RC cars and actually has a personality and can talk to people and get along with people, right? That is very much lacking in RC, I would say. That's one of Mayfield's strengths too, because he's good with people, let's say, especially after some Coors Lights. So yes, I think that Ogden could have a place in RC, but it probably would require him and the company that he works with to sort of figure out where his place is. Because so far he's like, oh, Sparko signs Cole Ogden, he's going to be the next world champion kind of thing. Like they sign him as a pro driver to win races. Yeah. Unless he decides wholeheartedly that's what he wants to do, that's not him. Then don't try to force that on him. Do you see what I mean?
You know, JQ, I actually agree with every single point you just made. I would add this about Cole. I don't think he knows how to control his talent. he doesn't know how to turn it on when needed, and he doesn't know it's an emotional thing where I think a lot of these guys know how to turn on their talent a lot more.
Okay, I'm gonna go on the record saying this. Okay, I know that Cole is good enough and better than many drivers currently racing to where if he wanted to, I could help him win. I know. Without a shadow of a doubt. I have seen him race at the RCGPs, Neo Buggy, all these places, right? But there are 2 issues with that. 3 issues. First of all, I don't know if Cole wants that because based on his past, he doesn't. 2, the reason he got fired. 3, I think it's the same as 1 actually, which is he would have to put in the effort and the work, but that has to do with does he want to do it or not. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that he can do it, but he has to want to. And also, not just he has to want to actually. If he joins another brand, I don't think he will because he doesn't have the knowledge and dedication required to make it happen. But I have that. Do you understand? I can give him what he needs to win and guide him. And if he wants to and he puts in the work, then he can win. Do you understand?
I understand.
It requires both of those sides.
And it requires him making some changes in his life.
Yeah, the car has to work like he wants the car to work, but he cannot do that. So if he signs with Mugen now, he's not going to do it, because he is not going to get that car to work exactly how he wants at the right time at the race. And then even with all the practices done, like it's not going to happen. Okay? It's too late for that. That ship has sailed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say like, if he actually wants that, he needs everything to be perfect for him, then he can go out there and do it.
I agree with all of what you said. I know I wanted to get off DNC real quick, but I have to touch on this because we started on this conversation after DNC. Kind of just a lackluster DNC for the Europeans. High expectations out of Juan Carlos Canas after winning 2 races. Obviously, Boots has won this. I tried to bring this theory up on the podcast with Max, and I wanted to bring it up with you. I feel that having Ronnefalk there, it's kind of like not having one of your star players on the team not being there, right? So imagine the Europeans show up and there's no Ronnefalk. Like, okay, has he been the best in 8 scale lately? Not really, but he has a great track record at DNC. I think that gives the Americans an upper edge because that's one guy that is in the hunt that they know can win. That's out. Because realistically, the 3 Europeans that could win this are Canas, Boots, Ronnefalk, right? And that is a formidable top. That could be a top 3 at any race. Do you feel? I'm not saying this is the excuse, but do you feel not having Ronnefalk there as the star player had some sort of a subliminal mental effect on the races there? Good for the Americans, bad for the Europeans?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
No.
What?
Because
you're not opening your
they
brain
also want to beat Ronnefalk. They don't.
I know that there. I know that. But it goes in like, I understand that. They want to beat him. But, okay, here's a better example. None of those guys have the superstar status that Ronnefalk has coming into DNC to an extent.
Why would it affect them? I don't think it would affect them.
It gives the Americans, I'm not saying they won because of this, but it gives them like, hey, that superstar isn't her coming into the home turf to beat us. Because let's be honest, Ronnefalk's been the most formidable European to come to DNC and maybe I'm just reaching and I'm looking for a storyline here, but that's kind of how I feel. Like a mental, like
the real reason is more simple and I think more obvious. It's that there was an extreme lack of track time. Really.
Do you think also, you notice what I noticed? That they didn't really come out for the weekend. It wasn't too much there was no races going on. I know you was out there. When did you get there? Like the Sunday before?
Yeah.
So I saw people testing like the Sunday and Monday. It wasn't like come out there on the Thursday or Wednesday before, go to Revelation, you obviously can't go to Thunder Alley, but do the whole, and there's always seems to be a race the weekend of DNC at one of these tracks. I didn't see none of that this year.
Yeah.
None of it.
I think it's just the lack of track time, because you have to imagine you go to a race and you literally run Q1, Q2, main. Okay. That's not enough. And then if you think that the other guys, they ran the Americans, I mean, they had the quote unquote warm up for the DNC, whatever it was called. The
NXS race. They had the
NXS race, which was the warm up. Then they had the TNR race. So yes, I know TNR wasn't quite the same, but still US style jumps and this and that. Like, you have a feeling for your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have some Europeans come over who did Montpellier, which got cut short because of the rain. There's no European tracks that resemble anything like DNC. So it would have been a different story if we get there. We have 2 practice rounds. You sleep, you wake up the next day, you have sort of internalized everything that you've experienced. You have another day, you make setup changes, driving adjustments, you sleep, you wake up, you have another day. Now it's nitro buggy qualifying. You're more comfortable. You're like so much further down the road of having a connection to the car, having a car that you're confident with. Then you go have a practice for the main, then you have a main, right? I forgot the practice, but the practice is irrelevant because it's daytime and the track was grooved up and completely different. But that's the reason, I think. It's just a complete lack of track time. That's what ruined it.
Okay. All right. Well,
let's put it like this. Actually, I think it was an American who said this. Imagine going to Redovan and having your first run on the track be Q1.
Yeah. It would be
that's
a
kind of like, imagine that. Just imagine. Mayfield qualified, all that practice, all of that. He qualified where? Quarterfinal, Cavalieri 1/8 final, something like that, or 16th final, right? So imagine they show up and Q1 is the first time they drive it. Insanity, right? So
I get it.
That's the reason, I think.
Okay. Mike, I understand all those points. I also think there's a subliminal. You know what the Ryder Cup is? You know what the Ryder Cup is?
No, it's not
basically
team
where
event,
Europeans.
DNC, so.
It's basically where Europeans go against Americans in golf, right?
Yeah, but this is not it.
I just
in your head you want it to be it, but it's.
I do. I'll tell you what. It took me about a day to get over the fact that Ronnefalk weren't going to DNC. I was that shocked. I didn't even realize he wasn't going.
I like that you had him in your prediction podcast and you didn't know that he wasn't going.
You know, and then when you know how I realized, someone goes, "Is Ronnefalk even going?" And I was like, and then I went look at his social media. I was like, and I messaged him, "You're not fucking going to DNC."
Well, do you know that he's not going to Silver State either?
He's turning into a pure 10 scale on-road.
Phend isn't going to Silver State either because Phend is having a baby.
Well, he has a legitimate excuse.
Yeah.
Is Ronnefalk going to
IBC the week after?
Oh, so I'll see him at IBC. E-Buggy Worlds. That's what's on their mind. And Euros, I would assume.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving on. Let's move on to the next subject, which will be the TITC, which is actually brought to you by Project RC. Big shout out to our new advertiser, RC Project. Thank you, Stefano, who just sent me a shirt that's too small for me because 4X in Europe is not 4X American style, as we figured out. But thank you. We got the new shirt. I got it up there on the backboard. It looks good. Thank you, Stefano. He is making some excellent products for your cars, especially his shock caps. He just came up with some brilliant new clutch bearings that he told me will last over a gallon in all surfaces, whether it be dry or muddy. Check them out. Big shout out to Stefano. We'll leave links for RC Project. I think you could buy their products from Beach RC and A-Main RC. Thank you, Stefano, for all your support. All right. Is it TITC? What does that stand for, JQ? Do you know?
Thailand International Touring Car. championship, I think, but
So-
isn't that once a year?
So this race plus we just had ETS this past weekend seemed to be two. Maybe I'm wrong, but the two big races for touring car outside of in Europe and then obviously over there in Thailand. You went over to this race for the first time. How did that happen? I guess we'll start on there. How did that even come about? Because you've been doing a lot of touring car, actually, to be honest.
I haven't been doing a lot, but mainly. So, okay, in the winter, I have driven some touring car here in Finland on carpet. But I would say previous winter, I drove more. This winter, not much at all. But what I have been trying to do here in my life is enjoy myself. Okay. And I felt that doing something very different with RC where there's no pressure would be fun. And it could bring more fun back to RC. Now, it costs a lot of money. So then I figured, okay, how can I make this worthwhile? And this is like a long time ago, I was thinking this. And then I thought, okay, this is the perfect opportunity to write the InvisibleSpeed book for on-road, because I can't rely on other people to give me the sort of driver feedback that I need. I have to feel it myself. I have to be 100% confident and sure of the things that I write. So I decided, okay, I need to do some carpet touring car races and asphalt races. TITC, it's one of the most popular events. It's in Thailand. Weather is great. There's a lot of track time and a lot of practice before the race. And this was key, actually. So they open the track weeks before the race. You could spend 2 weeks at the track if you want to before the race. So I spoke with Pekko about it and we decided, okay, let's do TITC. He left already, I think, on the Friday before the race or Saturday. I left, I think, Sunday or Monday. I still got like 3 whole days of practice before the event. So that's the main reason that we picked this event. And the goal was just to gain some experience and kind of show my face and the brand to the touring car scene. Because, as I said, I made this make sense by deciding to write the book for on-road.
Sweet. So Pekko was there that long? I did see like Ronnefalk and Coelho and everybody were there for like a whole week prior to that. I know this race was popular. It's been popular. I didn't really pay attention to it much last year, but obviously this year I did. It looks like a beautiful facility.
Yeah, it's super nice. And there were drivers who are even longer than that, like multiple weeks.
Really?
And I mean, Infinity went there for a week or 2 weeks or something. I think in January, then they flew home and then they went back and stayed many days before the race also. So yeah,
did you get a chance to look at the touring car that they're working on at all?
Yeah. You could see it there. Just no pictures, but you could see all the cars there. Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about your experience here, because you caused quite a splash in a good way. So another positive result for you over there, helping out the on-road races.
I think in a good way, but then I also heard some comments that I ruffled some feathers, but I'm not sure.
It wouldn't be you without ruffling some feathers.
It wasn't my intention, but I think maybe I did somehow. Because I wrote a column also for Red RC, who was doing the reporting.
What ruffled the feathers? Was it the...
I never got a straight answer, actually, to that.
You said something about on-road guys, though, right?
If I have to think about it, then maybe it's because I think maybe it can be disrespectful to say that people rely on experience instead of knowledge.
Okay.
Or something like that. But
you probably offended them.
Yeah, I offended someone, I'm sure. But that's literally my opinion, because obviously my
Well,
angle
explain it.
was
Explain it.
angle was setup, right?
Mhm.
And learning to understand setup, all the same things that I've written about, but now with an on-road focus. So I did speak with the drivers also, not just me having an opinion, but listening to other drivers' opinions and following the changes they were making and why and this sort of stuff. And I formed the opinion that the sort of driving force there in the on-road scene is experience. What have we done in the past? What has worked in the past? And not knowledge and understanding, which would be, this is what's happening now. What is the thing that we need to do and why? Where the sort of previous experience is less important then. Do you understand? For example, if you are making a change based on experience and something is a bit different in this scenario, but you think, well, in the past we did this, and you don't understand the sort of physics behind it, why, the how, and the why. If you don't understand that, then you can make a wrong choice. It worked before, but this one thing was different. That's why it worked. And that's the part you don't understand. You just know that before we did it. Let's try it again. Oh, no, it doesn't work. And you don't know why. That's kind of the sense that I got. And when you make changes based on knowledge instead, you evaluate the current situation, you look at everything you know, and you make a decision based on that. You reference your experience, but that's not the driving force. Do you see what I mean? The driving force is your knowledge and the current situation. So that's something I noticed, and I wrote about it. And maybe that is that. Maybe that.
So what you're
is the
trying to
thing.
say, in other words, how I understand it is that the experience is actually the reason why things aren't advancing in setup, because people don't want to get out of their experience in order to try new things in setup. Pretty
No,
much.
I mean that yes, it's advancing, but I mean that it's more trial and error in a sense, instead of steady progress towards a goal, because you know what you're doing. Like, actually, if you go back and you read Red RC reports, very often you can see someone who's not doing that well. Then they say that we changed the whole setup, or we changed the. No, that to me makes zero sense. You should never do that. If you know what you're doing, you would never do that, because it's like you just threw everything out the window and started on a fresh sheet of paper. Like, that's crazy. You have to be extremely lucky to then stumble on something that works. I think setup, you have to start with a good base, and then whatever base you have, the only way to truly make it the best is to make tiny adjustments and perfect everything. And that takes multiple runs. And one thing that I did notice is, I think my skill set or knowledge is way more valuable in on-road than off-road. Because in off-road, there are so many variables. The track changes, and there's dust and bumps and all of this stuff, which makes it, just the nature of off-road makes it so the driver has a much bigger role. Okay. And a driver can drive around things that are a bit off in the setup. Okay. But when you have the world's best drivers, it doesn't matter what the driver is driving around, in a sense, right? Because they always do that. So you will never be 100% perfect with your setup in off-road. The driver will always have to adapt. And the best drivers, they can do it. And since they always have to adapt a bit, it doesn't matter if they have to adapt a bit regarding steering or traction or rear traction, or it doesn't sort of matter. It's never going to be perfect. The best drivers deal with it. So I can't Like what I can offer them is a good base and a very good car every time. But I can never give them a perfect car, pretty much, in off-road. But on-road is different, because in on-road, all the best drivers can do the same thing, and they can't compensate for a car that is a bit slow. They can't. So there, it's more about the car setup. Do you understand what I'm
Oh, I
saying?
understand 100%. I've always thought
Like,
this. Always
if
thought
Bruno is a better driver than Michael, but Michael's car is faster, Michael wins. Like 9 times out of 10.
this. Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
understand.
and then I understood this. Like at TITC, I really saw it, because it's like the car is a 10th faster lap, or half a 10th faster lap, or something, or it doesn't fade as much towards the end. That's the difference these guys are looking for. And then I noticed also that it wasn't, it's like, if I had a thought, like, I think if we change this, that's going to happen. Every fucking time it happened. Exactly that thing that I thought happened. Where in off-road, I'm not that sure, because in off-road, you make a change. In theory, you know what happens, right? But then the driver perceives it in some way, feels some way, and drives differently, drives more confidently, or drives less confidently, or more throttle, or less. And that changes how the car works. And then you have another problem to deal with. Do you understand? Like, you feel like this change is going to do this. Then suddenly the driver is more confident, pushes more, punches it more, drives more on throttle through holes and this and that. And then something else doesn't. Now it's too soft. You know,
Well,
this
yeah.
kind of stuff.
Can I add that I would also, my assumption would be that also the variables in off-road is the track changes so much, and the bumps, and like you can go out. That's why, you see these off-road cars, they're so sloppy, right? People's like, my car is too sloppy. We say sloppy is fast, because that little bit of play doesn't really, I mean, obviously you can have too much slop, but in off-road, you might go out there on your first lap and land wrong and knock your camber off or something like that. Good racers can overcome that.
Having said that, off-road is going in that direction, like with the Redovan Worlds track.
With the high-speed tracks, yes.
Yeah, that smooth, treated tracks. It's going towards the on-road style where the car matters more, the tires matter more. Which in some ways, even though I am Mr. Setup, in some ways, I don't like that. Because one of the things I like about off-road is how unpredictable it is, in a sense. It's a different kind of challenge. But back to my point, TITC, I was so happy, actually. Like, it's crazy. After some practice days and realizing this thing, and then being able to help Michael in practice and Pekko, and seeing instant feedback, like, okay, my idea worked, and that's the result. Like, it's so clear. You can just see it. That sort of motivated me somehow. I thought like, okay, this is actually fun. Like, this is something I can enjoy. And to fast forward towards the end of the race, we kind of got lucky, because Pekko and Michael both run Schumacher. So I was also running Schumacher there. And then Michael already TQ'd the race. He TQ'd the first 3 rounds, and there was a 4th round. And then he had nothing to lose. So he was willing to try some of my ideas. He tried my shocks on his car, for example. And he felt like there's potential. So then he trusted me because of that. And then I actually got to help him more. Then for the mains, I quite literally, was mainly getting him to not do the changes he wanted to do, or to make them much smaller. Okay? So we spoke about how the car was and different changes, and I just sort of reeled it in and made it smaller.
So basically, you're showing an example of the experience towards, like, I want to go make these massive changes, which they're used to doing, to where you just say, no, you just need to make these mind. That's something you've been preaching though forever.
Yeah, and it was incredible because um, the because he would then sort of do what I asked, and after the run say, "Oh my God, you were right because I felt this." Had I done what I originally thought, it would have been way like I would have had that problem, you know. And this experience was really um, it was fun, rewarding, interesting, and also helpful for the off-road side of things because the link between theory and setup and reality and lap times and what happens is so much more clear in on-road than off-road. So I think in some ways it's easier to learn about these things in off-road because you can visually see them. You literally see the car moving and rolling and doing all these things on the track and how it handles bumps and stuff. Like in on-road, you don't see that really. But then once you've learned the basics, when you apply them in on-road, you see the results so much better. That was that was really fun for me.
Yeah, because you can, like you said, the cars are so important, right? And
Yeah, and
going so fast.
Another thing was each time actually that I thought about some change because I worked with Michael and then only for A3 with Mark Reinhard, and then with Ronnefalk also, so the late in qualifying once he wasn't really a factor anymore. Each time I did something, I underestimated the driver skill because I was thinking, okay, I want to play it a bit safe that whatever negative thing doesn't happen. And each time the driver felt that it could have been more in that direction. Like I could have had more steering or I could have had less rear traction or whatever, right? So that was also interesting that even though the changes needed are very small, the driver skill level is higher than what I sort of expect.
Because they have to react so much faster, right?
Yeah, and their inputs are so small. Like it's impressive.
Was you well received with what, like, is it kind of, because I also heard at DNC a lot of guys are coming up to you and asking for help. Did that kind of start happening? Have you been have people been in the on-road community been reaching out to you about any of this?
Well, actually, it's something that, especially since TRTC, I have considered doing sort of more seriously, because now it started off with me just offering help to people who didn't request it because I wanted to learn about it. And then it morphed into this thing where I'm offering help to people who know they can benefit and they do. And now I'm thinking that I'm confident that I could actually make a difference. But it's hard because I would need to benefit somehow. If I don't benefit, then who do I help and why? Right? It doesn't really make sense. So somehow I would like if, because let's back up a bit. I think to design and produce a car is not the same as setting it up at a race and making the correct decision at the right time. Those are two different things. Some people do it all, but not necessarily. Like in bigger industries, they have people who deal with design, development, production, and they have different people who deal with testing, and maybe even different people who deal with racing, right? It's so involved. So I definitely think that there is room for someone to be sort of a bit of a race engineer in a sense. Like there's a product, there's a design that exists, and then how do we make the most of this? Maybe give them feedback like, oh, maybe in the future, in the next versions, these adjustments could be good to have, but it's not the same as the designer already. And that's kind of the position that I have found that I really enjoy. We have something, how do we make this as fast as possible for this particular driver? That challenge I enjoy. So maybe it could be possible to find a role like that, specifically in on-road, because that's where I see the benefit to be the highest. That would be something that I would enjoy to do.
Right, and the biggest resistance to that is obviously paying for it. And is there any resistance from maybe just the attitude towards it as well, or has it generally? Have you seen because I had somebody message me and say that you're completely wrong about this, and I'm like, well, it's like
I am completely wrong about what?
I don't remember. He must have been listening to your live or something.
I know. Well, some of the pushback is like you can't set a car up with a computer. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
This is something that I know that I've heard directly and indirectly in the past, but that's not true, because in on-road especially, the sort of base setup of the car determines the nature of the car. And if you put two 0.2 millimeter shims in a different way, you can alter that balance of the car, like depending on where it is, obviously, to start with. So there is no way for you to know how to get the exact balance you want without a computer, without analyzing the roll center on the computer. You cannot, because how would you know to lower this 0.1 and raise that 0.25 and put a 0.5 shim? You would not know. There is no way, right? So I think people who say that, they just don't know. So there's no point in arguing really with them.
Resistance to change, dude. I've watched you do this for years. Watch you do it for years. Develop this over the last years.
Yeah, do you think that Formula One teams, do you think that they go to the track and they change some settings and that's how they decide how they set the car up?
Yeah,
I don't think so.
They run it on simulations over and over and over.
The thing is that I think people misunderstand something. You have to know what you're doing and try it on the track. And the combination of that is how you get to the best possible place. If you just do one, it doesn't work, right? You have to do both. And that's what I enjoy to do. And I know it works 100%. Even now, ETS, we had the same situation because Michal seeded third. He had put on a completely different setup. He did what I said makes no sense. Completely different setup. Then for Q1, I said, okay, well, I think this would be a much more reasonable direction. And he tried it. He put it on. And it was a completely different setup. But I knew the setup, right? He put it on and it worked. And then from there, I just suggested small changes based on his feedback. And I wasn't there, and I did the setup on a computer, and he TQ'd all 4 rounds and won. So yes, he could have done it even without my involvement. But my argument is that if you want to do even more and even better, then this is the way. And not TQ by some tenths or a second, but destroy the fucking competition. That's what would inspire me, and that's what I want to do.
I think you're on the verge of it, dude. You know what would be next? I would say is when we can get real time telemetry from these cars.
We can. That's another thing. So the Finnish guy, Jussi Luopajärvi, he was helping to, the main organizer, I think, of the Worlds 10-scale off-road Worlds in Finland back in the day. He's a company. He works for the rally team, Toyota rally team, but he has now, what is the name? Come on.
For what? Test logger.
Test logger, exactly. Yeah. Test logger. He has that telemetry system, and you can analyze the data from your radio, but also you can put sensors on the car and check everything. That would be really fun. Like if there was more money in RC, that's kind of what
I'm surprised you haven't done that yet, JQ. I'm surprised you haven't done that.
Time. Yeah, but I mean, I would like to, but it's like my free time and my hobby. I'd rather go ride motocross. When I have to work, then I work.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. Shit, you've been on a. I know we were talking about TITC, and I never got to get to questions. But yeah, you went on your second motocross tour down in Spain, which was awesome too. Little relaxation away from RC. That's good. We all need it. I know I need it for sure.
Yeah, it was really good. I think that's my new annual trip, some motocross.
Now, here's the question, and I know we're on InvisibleSpeed, right? And I've told you about this. I think that the real gem here is InvisibleSpeed, and I think InvisibleSpeed can cross over into many different genres of racing, not just RC. iRacing is one of them I told you about. You're showing that you can do setup changes that people, and if people with basic knowledge can follow them from a distance, you can do it.
Well, I mean, I think I spoke to you about it. Maybe that's why you bring this up, because I almost did that. I almost went seriously into introducing InvisibleSpeed for motocross.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I didn't was the opportunities we had with Mayako, and that it required my full attention. So that is still my plan.
Now,
because I don't like for RC, I have the information myself. I have the knowledge. I can drive. I can feel everything. I can do it myself. Motocross, I don't, because I will never be a good enough rider to really understand what it takes to ride at that level. But I can ride enough to where I feel the basics. I understand the basics, and I can apply everything I know from off-road RC. And they are very similar things. Okay, it's the same world. It's the same language, a different dialect, let's say. So when I can ride and I can feel the basics, and I know all I know about RC, then the difference or the gap that needs filling is having the right people who actually can feel all those things and know enough about the sort of higher level of motocross knowledge to be able to share that with me. And then what I know I can do is take a whole lot of complicated information and contradictory information and take all of it, analyze it, simplify it, and express it in a way that anyone can understand. I know I can do that, and that's what I've been planning to do for motocross, because what InvisibleSpeed is for RC, it doesn't really exist for motocross either. You have riding schools and suspension seminars and these kind of things, but you don't really have like one place that you have all of that information in a simple form that you can just take and apply. You have more than what you had in RC, I would say, but you don't have InvisibleSpeed in motocross. So there's even a gap in the market right there. So
absolutely. I think I've told you countless times, I think the real gem is InvisibleSpeed. And it's good to see you refocus on that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I think we're going to wrap up TITC. So I assume, well, you be going, before we wrap it up, what will be your next touring car race that you go to?
It was actually going to be the first outdoor ETS. But something, I think the Kyosho Masters conflicts with it. And I had already told Neo in Italy and those guys that I'm going to do the Kyosho Masters. So they already booked their tickets.
Gotcha.
And everything. So I'm going to have to do that. So, I don't know. I don't know what the next touring car race is now.
All right. Sweet. All right. Well, I think it's time. We did have some questions from everybody. We're not going to get to all the questions because we've been going quite a long time. This is the InvisibleSpeed bench racing Q&A. You need to make another commercial with Stop Scrolling because it's like one of the most popular phrases ever. And we love it here.
Stop scrolling. You want to be Lewis Hamilton? Learn something new with InvisibleSpeed. You can't do everything at 100% maximum speed. You have to be smooth. I mean, when you drive a real car, if you drive a real car, how do you just, when you get to a 90-degree corner to turn into the parking lot, do you go like that with the steering wheel? Do you like slam on the throttle and the brake? No, you probably turn the wheel smooth and get on the throttle smooth. Same thing with an RC car. If you want to learn more and make your speed visible, stop scrolling.
Stop scrolling, you wanna be
Hey, bro.
Lewis Hammerling
Whatever.
LinkedIn. What was it? The Hammerling ton.
Hamilton.
Hammerling ton. That's what you sound like.
Really?
But it's actually a very good commercial. Invisible Speed, we have a affiliate link in the written description of this podcast. We've got a little slice of that as well. Go check it out. Make your speed visible with Invisible Speed. 40 plus champion over there made his speed visible at DNC. All right, JQ. So ever so often when we post out questions, they are popular for you. People do have a lot of questions. We are not going to be able to get them through them all. We do apologize. So we're going to pick some. Most of these are setup questions, and a lot of these topics we've already been through. So thank you everybody for submitting questions for the Invisible Speed bench racing Q&A. And it looks like we're going to start with a Phend. Essa Millima. This is definitely Finnish or Scandinavian. It's spelled Mylllymaa, his last name. Millima?
Myllymar.
I don't know. Diff gear count. Last time I asked Max about the number of planetary gears inside diff and its effect on car handling. Max replied with an in-depth analysis and even continued on the subject in the end of the podcast. Two pretty much opposite theories. Two planetary gears is loosely said smoother on power due to less oil is smooth versus two planetary gears actually locks more on power due to increased pin gear friction. And as usual in scientific questions, more studies needed. I would like to hear JQ's take on the topic, so we can start there because he does have another part of the question. So go there, JQ. He would like your thoughts on the take of that topic, and please let's not beat that dead horse to death.
Okay. So less gears in the diff is less resistance to action, which is why people who run less gears in the diff run thicker oils. It's more force on those remaining gears, which is why the diff would wear out or not be as strong, because that force that is coming isn't distributed among many gears, it's distributed on those fewer gears, right? But when the diff starts to work, there is less resistance because there is less surface area, less friction, less oil moving, less resistance to that diff action. What does that do on the track? I think actually when these other manufacturer drivers are running less gears, they are getting closer to how a Mayako diff feels already as standard with 4 gears, because as you know, we run relatively thick diff oils as standard compared to other brands. When you have this situation, you can run thicker diff oil, which off power, when there's not a lot of force on the diff, it feels thick, right? So off power, your car feels stable. You have a thick diff oil. There is that initial resistance to movement, even with less gears, right? Off power, stable. You get on power, less resistance as the diff start to work with fewer gears. So you can get away with running that thick oil. So you get into this situation where you have a car that is now more stable off power and still has the drive and the stability on power. If you had this same diff with 4 gears and you went that thick on the oil off power, you would have a stable car on power. That would feel too thick. Rear would slide out. Car wouldn't be good in bumps, anything like that, right? That's my answer. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you run less gears, you can get away with running thicker oil, which makes the car more stable off power. And then when you get on power, it's still smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, you are trying to turn your diff into a Mayako diff. Thank you. We have it stock with 4 gears.
All right, Patrick Zamora, what is the effect of placing pills on the inside or outside ABCD block Or in other words, what will happen if I make the arms longer or shorter for the pills of the A, B, C, D blocks?
I think this is a bad adjustment to have on cars, because so many things change. But basically, you can think about it like this: A, B, C, D blocks. If you go wider, so the pivot width is wider, you will have more response. So anything that happens faster. Typically, that means more reactive in bumps, so worse in bumps often. If you have a very inconsistent track with different levels of traction, the car can react faster to those things. But you have more corner speed. The car tends to carry more natural corner speed, not want to stop as much in the corner. We don't have pills where you can move in and out, but we have two different types of C and D block. We have narrow and wide. We run the wide everywhere because it's faster, except on a track like DNC. DNC, inconsistent grip, low grip, very bumpy, difficult track. Then the narrow is so much easier to drive that it makes up for the corner speed advantage or speed of the wider C and D block. Okay?
Okay, cool. Next question. This is a good one. And I meant to ask you this, but we didn't get to it. Paco Romero, in JQ's opinion, why the designs in on-road advance so fast compared to 1/8 scale off-road? The market for on-road must be very small in comparison to off-road, but they innovate at a faster rate.
The reason is that their cars don't have many molded parts. So when you make a mold, there's a cost to make the mold. Then you have to make large production batches to get consistent parts, and you have a lot of stock of all those parts that you molded. And then to make a change, it doesn't just take money, it takes time. Because first you have to be sure that this new part is in fact the one that you want. So you have to test some kind of 3D printed prototypes or whatever. Then you have to produce the mold, which can take, probably usually takes 3 months at least. And then maybe you have to adjust the mold another month or two. And then you can make a production batch, which is a big batch again. And so the whole process of making molded parts is slow. Touring car, what do the brands update when they update? A CNC machined chassis, CNC machined hubs, machined carbon arms and link plates and stuff. It's very easy to update a touring car because all the parts that you're updating are more than likely carbon fiber or aluminium, and you machine those. That's the reason.
Would you also say size is a difference because they don't have to manufacture as many parts?
I mean, of course, it's easier. There's less parts, but that's the main reason. The fact that the parts are machined and not molded.
Okay. Gary Hobson, is RC racing too fast for the newcomers to the hobby with limited ability compared to, say, 2010, thinking of the electric classes? We had a good discussion about this the other day. And you had a good analogy.
Well, no, they are not too fast because we have classes that are slow, some kind of stock classes and stuff. But I think the class structure in RC is a bit stupid somehow. Like there's modified, which is arguably too fast. And then there's sort of the open class or the whatever class it's below that, which is too fast for what it is, right? That should kind of be modified, I think. But then the entry-level classes, I mean, real stock, it's slow. Like, it's fine. It's not too fast, I think. And there's all kinds of like, they had the front-wheel drive class. The cars aren't fast at all. TRTC, they had a rally class. Like, yeah. It's not too fast.
For entry level, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. In JQ's CR Landing Racing, in JQ's opinion experience, can tires be manufactured and sold more cheaply as it is probably the highest cost element of the sport?
Yes, there's margin there to definitely sell them cheaper, but one problem is how now the manufacturers kind of open it up to everyone. So there are so many brands, no one is selling enough to where they have to sell at those or higher prices. But I think tires could and should be cheaper, to be honest, because it is a consumable. I can buy a motocross tire for the same price that I buy a set of RC tires. And you know how much more rubber and other materials are in a motocross tire than in an RC
Oh, yeah,
car
I
tire set.
understand. I understand.
It's a bit out of hand, to be honest.
I think. Can I say something about this? And I'm not. I think what people fail to realize is also the cost of some of the design that goes into the R&D that goes into some of these tires. Now, some of these companies don't do it at all.
Yeah, but have to say, we were just talking about touring car TRTC. I think the tires, a tire set costs, was it maybe $25 or $30 or something? I think like that's okay. Yeah, but I'm talking now about off-road, like where you could go on somewhere like Amen and a tire set costs $80. Something.
Yeah,
like that's ridiculous. That's too much. Like $35, $40, okay, that's okay for a set of tires. 80, no, it's too much.
I think there's lots of mitigating factors to go into that price being that price. Jeremy Buck, how can we get back to something more like RCGP? What is the next big idea?
It's not about the idea. It's about that
attitude.
People, we've been over this so many times, but basically, this is why we can't have nice things, kind of. We are our own worst enemy. For us to have something better, the industry would need to come together, work together. And that's not what they want. Most brands think in the way, I have two options. I can do A, which will only benefit me, or I can do B, which will benefit everyone, including me. They will choose A. Okay? And as long as that is the option, like I will choose the thing which only benefits me over I will choose this thing which benefits everyone, including me, as long as they think like that, nothing will change. Because the only way to change is to get enough of the brands in the industry on the same page. And that attitude, which I just explained, stops that from happening.
Okay. I have one question about setup that I want you to answer. I'm just looking for it here. Give me a second. Oh, here we go. Gareth, it's a one-word question, so I want you to answer this. Gareth Janey, I've reached a position in my racing where I'm doing my runs 0.4 of a second average between average and fastest lap, yet I'm still losing to others. He's running 17.5 touring car. What adjustments should I be looking at to go faster, maintaining the balance, but moving towards more initial grip, for instance?
And what's he running?
17.5 touring car. He's 0.4 of a second between average and fastest lap, yet he's still losing to others.
Well, 0.4 is a lot for touring car, first of all. So even being more consistent is, I mean, there's room to improve there. But for touring car, what helps you go faster is when you can manage driving a car that has more steering. So you don't use the whole throw of the wheel, or maybe just in that super tight corner, right? So when you can learn to drive where you barely are moving the wheel, so your wheels are not turning as much, you'll be faster. Okay. So basically adding more steering to the car and then driving with smaller inputs, that's going to make you fast.
All right. Mark Thomas, has he or anyone that he knows of ever tried a shock design of a 2-piston design that has a floating piston somewhere on the shaft? This would more or less become a second chamber that would be tuned independently of a main shock parameters, i.e. a small bump absorption.
Yes, I have.
And how did you do that? Like,
What?
how did you do? Yeah. He
you-
just said, yes, I had. What was the results? There you go. Better question.
Yeah, I think it can work.
So you don't want to release no secrets. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what it sounds like to me. Like you've tried
It sounds
You-
like to me, but I saw another question there about the other shock thing.
Look at you. That you are deflecting very good from that question. You are deflecting very good. You know what? You sneaky bastard. You're deflecting very good from that question.
No, I've tried it. Yeah,
But you don't want to talk about it because you think it's good. That's why.
I
You
think
don't wanna
it
let
can be
nobody
good.
know. What is the other question? Do we want to talk? Let's read Marty Korn's triggered comment about you.
If you want to waste time, but I need to be done soon. Actually,
All right, well, let's go into our Instagram questions. We won't worry about Marty Korn.
Yeah.
All right. He can go rip up Degani's lawn or something like that. Dylan Hardson, what would you guys be doing right now instead of doing RC car for a hobby or a living? There you go, JQ. What would you be doing?
Something in motocross.
I have no idea what I'd be doing. I'd be trying to get back into tunnel work, working on the ground, doing that. Dangerous, but very good paying job.
Yeah.
RC Puma, when can we put our pre-order deposits down on the Mayako 10 scale touring car? Also, who will be the first pro sponsored driver? RC Puma's been a long time patron as well.
I don't think I'll make a touring car ever.
And from the basement, who's happy to have you back on her, he wants to know what's your favorite KPI and caster option and why?
For the Mayako, my favorite is KPI 0.5 caster 2, because the caster 2, which is more caster, smooths out the initial steering. Then the KPI 0.5, which is less KPI, gives more initial steering, but more importantly, mid to exit of the corner, less steering, easier to drive. So it's, for me, the way I drive it is the easier option.
Awesome. Thank you all for the questions. We greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry if we could not get to your question. We will try to get it to you, to JQ, the next time. We are trying to get him on her maybe once a month, once a quarter, whenever we could get him on her. He's busy. I'm busy as well. JQ, thank you for your time. I've had a great chat catching up with you. It's been awesome. I've really paid attention to you, even when you went into Super Science Mode. We must do it again. We got to figure out a way to get you on her doing some tech tips every once a month. Maybe we do questions once a month or something for you. You like that type of stuff.
Maybe.
And I just wanted to say, keep up the good work, man. I thought that DNC was a great positive for you. Even your interview when you went up there. Oh, I gotta ask this. So I heard you was asking everybody if they were Mimo Buggy. You asked Mayfield, you asked like Dennis Schumacher. You're on the hunt to find out who Mimo Buggy is.
Actually, I have a theory. Okay, I'm gonna put it out here. Okay, this can be the controversial part of the podcast.
Oh, Jesus.
I have heard, like, there was a number of people thrown around. Then I heard something that I can believe. Okay?
Let's not say names. We're not gonna say names.
Why?
Because you
Why
can't
can't I say?
accuse somebody of it. You don't have any proof.
Yeah, well, if I accuse them, I'm not accusing them. I'm saying it could be this person. And they can clear their air. Or maybe someone else can put one and one together. But the reason that I really think that it could be this is because they clearly know about racing.
Give the reasons and then make people make their own decision. Don't say who it is.
They can't. I think it's someone who doesn't race anymore. Okay?
Okay.
They don't race anymore, so they're not immersed in it as much anymore. Okay? So they know because they've been a part of it, but now they are a bit out of it. So they don't know everything, right? So some things that happen, they don't know because they are not there. And then other things they know because they have sources and people who know and feed them information. Okay, yeah? Here's the thing. That's why I thought it was Aaron Waldron who, like, resurrected his, whatever the other one was called he was doing. He got fired from Live RC. held a grudge, kept doing it in secret. Then I thought, well, who would he still speak with and who is he on terms with? Then someone told me this. Tyler Vick, and there's another guy who I don't know, his friend. I can't remember the name. This guy said the name and knew about the person. If you look at those people's sense of humor and the kind of things they do.
Very similar.
Very similar. I know that Mimo Buggy has been traced, like trying to find them. It was Northern California, was the closest they got. Isn't he in Northern California?
I have no idea where he is.
I think he is. And then I thought like it could make sense because I never liked Tyler Vick. He was always an arrogant prick, in my opinion. He didn't like me either. And the thing that was posted about me, about the whole dick pic thing and all that, the way it was posted and not knowing the whole story about it, that eliminated all the people like Rhonda, Drake, or anyone like this that you would think it could be. They would never post that because they know
the story.
Yeah.
They know the story.
Someone like Tyler Vick, he quit racing before that happened. He maybe doesn't have that story, right? It could literally be true that he just heard about it because he's not in it anymore to that extent, right? And then he could post something like that. So
didn't he have like a Shred RC or something like that too? Didn't he have a web Facebook like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe. I can't remember. Yeah. Now when
there was Dead RC, there was Shred RC. I never saw the one that Waldron was accused of, and
I think
I never saw that.
It was at the same time as
it was Shred RC. RC.
So anyway, if someone's watching this, then look into Tyler Vick and that other guy who's his sidekick. I can't remember the name because those two guys, they would fit the profile. Yes, for sure. So I'm not saying it is them, but that's my best sort of best house right now.
When I saw that on Mimo Buggy, I just said to myself, I knew this day would come. Like I knew this day would come where this would resurface.
That's probably why people thought it was me because I didn't post about myself. But I don't know. It's
I thought it was you for the longest while.
Yeah, I mean, it could still. I thought it was someone in like the whole.
I thought it was me too. That's
corner.
what you was gonna say. I thought it was me.
No, I thought it was someone in Mayfield's corner. This, someone there, like that group, because there's never negative stuff about Mayfield. Really,
you know what?
And there's a lot of negative about T-Bone Cavalieri, who's his kind of competition.
I see where you're coming from with that, though. I see where you're coming from with that. And when I saw that, I just laughed because I remember when that actually happened, I thought the end of the world was going to happen. And I remember talking to Liam that day and he just laughed at it. And then I can't remember which podcast it is, but we actually have you on the phone to the FBI with Ronnefalk next to you.
Yeah.
And I played the audio from that. So when this came out, I felt that was unfair to you because I know the whole situation that happened with that. And they just jumped, and that's where you get issues when you jump to conclusions about stuff like that. And you know what? Actually, people defended you in that shit, and they actually ended up taking it on.
Yep.
So, but it's weird. Now, I mean, some of the stuff they post is hilarious, but some of the stuff does definitely goes over the edge. So there's a fine line. Hey, JQ, it's been a great chat with you. I want to thank you for your time. And everybody, when is your next live show? We're probably going to be after this is released. Are you doing one this week?
Thursday, we have the youth mentoring program meetings, but they aren't public.
Okay. All right. Well, if anybody wants to get in contact and want to be a mentor, they should. Who do they contact, JQ?
Mayako.com/YMP.
/YMP. And if anybody wants to get in contact with you personally, what's the best way to do that?
Don't.
You know what? I actually agree with that information. That as well. Don't.
Yep.
Oh my God. Rupert Pumpernickels back in the house. Good.
Okay.
Hey, thank you for your time. Everybody, special shout out to the NNRC patrons around the world. We can't do this without you guys. Big shout out to you. Special shout out to the NNRC squad around the world and the YouTube membership. you all get early release of this access. A big shout out to these companies. We can't do without them. They are J Concepts, High Tech, Sidewinder, Latera Racing, InvisibleSpeed, ML Toys, Side Piece Racing, Hot Race Tires, Elite RC Productions, RC Project, Mayako, Techno, Beach RC, Racecraft, and Clinic RC. We have links for them, as well as some other affiliate companies as well. You can save some money, coupon codes, all that stuff. We got stuff for Car RC, everything down there. Get shit done. You met my boy Frank Sell.
I did, yeah.
He's an awesome dude, man. I like that guy's energy.
Good coffee.
Yeah, he sent me a whole bunch, and I've known him for a while. So I've been getting this coffee for about a year. And
I forgot to mention him on my live, but yeah, that's where we got the coffee for the ranching.
Yeah, he's an awesome dude, and he was excited to meet you, and he had his dude like. That's why I say everybody should go to a DNC once, because he thoroughly enjoyed himself. Right. Yeah. And that's what it's about for some people. So shout out to Frank Sell and Get Shit Done Coffee. You can save some money with that. We have a link for that in the written description of the podcast. Don't forget InvisibleSpeed as well. This man over here. Go check him out. Support that. Make your speed visible. I think I know he's onto something good. JQ, thank you for all your time. I appreciate it. I don't know when we're going to have you on her again, but definitely we're not going to wait a whole year to have you back on her. Definitely going to have you back.
Silver State if you want it to be anytime soon.
We have a month. We're both going to be traveling a lot in that month. Yeah. So we're both going to be very busy. And I'll see you. I probably won't see you to the Euros, because I'm coming to them in Portugal and the e-buggy world.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to see you, hang out with you. I like Portugal. Cheap Bear, Superbach for the win. Superbach for the win. Lefty and JQ were out. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed it. See you later, JQ. Thank you for your time.
See you. Bye.